and gave it to her second brother. My second brother actually wears it on his body. What does this mean? This means that the second brother has finally come to his senses and realized his feelings. I didn't expect Linger to be so quick and make the big wooden man come to his senses so quickly. After dinner on New Year's Eve, Su Mu's purse fell to the ground. It was Wan who picked it up and discovered the secret. Second brother, you and Miss Linger? Su Mu snatched back the sachet and stuffed it into his sleeve. His entire face was abnormally red, but he still said stubbornly, "You're seeing things." "I'm not seeing things, that's Miss Linger's name." Su-won felt that there was nothing wrong with his eyesight. This shout was heard by Su's mother, and the whole family immediately surrounded Su Mu and asked him whether he and Miss Linger had decided to spend their lives together. Su's mother even threatened that she would propose to Miss Linger and settle the matter. Su Mu was frightened by the direct question and turned around to run away. In fact, the second brother was very stubborn. Su-won guessed that it must have been Miss Linger who gave it to him, but he didn't take it seriously in front of her. As a result, he carried it around like a treasure when she did it behind his back. Forget it, my second brother is thin-skinned, and the family was just teasing him. No one pressed him for any more questions. This is Su-won's third year in this world. She is living a particularly good life, much better than in modern times, and has gained many things that she would never have dared to ask for in this life. Brothers carefully prepared New Year gifts for her and bought a lot of fireworks to set off with her in the yard. But Su-won was thinking about his third brother and Jong-yu, who were far away at the border. What were they doing now? Did they celebrate New Year's Eve as lively as they did? However, the border battlefield recently suffered a defeat and a city was breached. The foreign barbarians broke into the city and committed all kinds of atrocities. The heads of the generals defending the city were cut off and hung on the city walls. Such a great humiliation made people angry. Now no one is thinking about having a good new year. All they are thinking about is how to take revenge and take back the lost city. On New Year's Eve, the border battlefield was filled with smoke and blood flowed like a river. In the room, Jong-yu's eyes were bloodshot, showing his rage at the moment. The teacup had been crushed into pieces by him, and blood was dripping down his fingers from the pierced palm. At this moment, Jong-yu's heart was twisted, paranoid, and depressed. Ning Jiqian's actions were undoubtedly a step in his own minefield. The scene returns to the Su family, where Su's father and mother are thinking about how to reject Lady Ningyuan. Master Su, Madam Su, my son fell in love with the 6th Miss at first sight, and he specially asked me to come to your house in person to propose marriage on his behalf, to show his love and respect for the 6th Mississippi. As for being well-matched, I think their statuses are compatible. The 6th Miss's brother is the top scorer in this year's imperial examination, right? So the two of them are a perfect match. This is the list of betrothal gifts we prepared. Mr. Su, Mrs. Su, please take a closer look and see if you are satisfied with it. If there is anything you are not satisfied with, we can discuss it. Mrs. Bo asked someone to show the betrothal gift list to Su's father. Su's mother could not recognize many words and had no idea what was written on it. She only saw a bunch of densely written words. Father Su took a quick look and only saw things like hundreds of acres of fertile land and a number of prosperous shops. They have no plans to marry into the Ningyuan Marquis' mansion, so it doesn't matter whether they look carefully or not. Madam, I'm very sorry. My daughter Wanwan is still young, and we don't want to discuss marriage for the time being. We only have this one daughter in our family, so naturally we want her to stay for a few more years. If we do this, I'm afraid it will delay young master. Father Su put the list of betrothal gifts aside and politely declined. They don't care whether they have offended anyone or not. What matters most is their daughter's happiness. Besides, they don't want to have to live their lives to please others.
It feels really bad to be looked down upon.
Mrs. Bo seemed to have a good attitude, but her expression and tone revealed her arrogance and disdain that could not be ignored. This kind of condescending attitude really makes people feel suffocated. He doesn't want Wanwan to live in such an environment for the rest of her life. Faced with Su Jing's father's polite refusal, Mrs. Bo's expression was not very good, but considering Su Jing's status, she still wanted to fight for it. Moreover, she could really see that her son liked the sixth daughter of the Su family. After weighing the pros and cons, they found that this marriage had more advantages than disadvantages for them, so Mrs. Bow swallowed her pride and came to propose marriage in person. I know that the sixth miss is still young, and it is indeed a little early to talk about getting married now, but we can settle this marriage first. As a mother, I can understand Madame Su's reluctance to let her daughter go, so our Jiqian is not in a hurry to get married in the next few years. He can wait for the sixth miss to grow up a few more years. It just so happens that the fifth young master said before that the two children don't know each other well enough, so they can take advantage of these few years to get along well and get used to each other. In fact, when we were young, it was all arranged by our parents and matchmakers. The people our parents chose for us must be the most suitable. Our two families are also well matched. In addition, the children themselves are happy, so isn't it killing two birds with one stone? Today, Madame Bow wants to settle this matter, and the important thing is to get the status first. Once it's decided, the matter is set in stone. As long as the Ning family doesn't go back on their word, the marriage will not fall through. By the time of Ning Ziqian's generation, the title had been hereditary for 3 generations. If they could not ensure that there was someone in their family who had a say in the court, it would be very difficult for them to find other ways to continue to inherit the title. The current Earl of Changlong's mansion was increasingly failing due to this reason and had always been suppressed by their Earl of Ningyuan's mansion. Therefore, if they don't make plans soon, the Earl's mansion of Changlong today will end up like the Earl's mansion of Ningyuan in the future. Once you lose power, everyone will push you down. They saw how much Su Jing cared about his sister Su Wan, and after meeting Ning Yuanhua and Su Jing, they asserted that this boy had a bright future, so if they wanted to win him over, marrying into the Su family was the best way. In the future, if Su Jing is granted the title of Marquis and appointed as Prime Minister, then their Ningyuan Earl's mansion will also benefit from it and receive the gift of hereditary succession, and they will no longer have to worry about the title being passed down for 3 generations. Mrs. Bow's persistence made Su's father and mother unable to maintain their expressions. You think of their family? Are you trying to curry favor with the rich and powerful? Suwon and their family has more than just this one option. Besides, Mrs. Bow has such a strong mother-in-law. If Suwon comes to their family in the future, won't she be at her mercy? Moreover, they couldn't see why Wanwan was happy. It was just the young master's wishful thinking, using his power to pressure others. Madam, our Wanwan has no romantic interest in you, madam. Please stop joking. Su's mother insisted on refusing, and this time her refusal was even more direct. Unexpectedly, the lady couldn't help herself and slammed the teacup on the table to show her impatience at the moment. Current Su family hasn't fully recovered yet, and she, a third-class countess, has been rejected again and again. What's more, she made such a big fuss today and came in person, giving enough face to the Su family, but she is still so ungrateful. Now, their Ning family is still superior to the Su family. If Suwon marries into their Ningyuan Earl's mansion, it can be considered a high-ranking marriage. I have already humbled myself so much to ask for marriage for my son, and you have rejected me again and again. Do you think that our Jia Jiqian is not worthy of your sixth miss? To be honest, your family's marriage with our Ningyuan Earl's mansion is the most glorious. If the sixth miss marries here, she will be the countess in the future. Moreover, your Su family's business in Xiangzhou is booming, and our Ningyuan Earl's mansion also happens to have some power in Xiangzhou. If this marriage is made, your family's business will be more prosperous in the future. We can support each other, isn't it? But if this matter damages the relationship between the two families, this is not the result we want. Don't you think? There was a hint of using power to coerce others in the lady's words. She deliberately emphasized that their family had some power in Xiangzhou and also brought up the Su family's business. The implication was that if they agreed, their Earl's mansion would be the Su family's support in the future. If they did not agree, their family's power would not be there for them to see and would definitely make it difficult for them to move forward. This was a secret way of forcing the Su family to nod. How could Su's father not hear such an obvious hidden meaning? Mrs. Bo knew that it would be difficult to get a result today, but seeing that Father Su's brows were furrowed, she knew that he understood, so she simply stood up and said something before leaving. Our Ningyuan Earl's mansion has shown its sincerity. My son likes the sixth Miss, and I, the Earl's wife, also want the sixth Miss Su to be my daughter-in-law. Father-in-law and mother-in-law, please think about this marriage carefully. I am waiting for your reply. If you have made up your mind, please send someone to the Earl's mansion to reply at any time. Our two families will hold a banquet in the West Tower to discuss the engagement. The wife of the Earl of Ningyuan left behind the several boxes of gifts she brought with her, as well as the list of betrothal gifts. Su Wan and Su Yi were waiting at the door. When they saw her come out with a smile on her face, they had a bad feeling in their hearts. When Lady Bo saw Su Wan, she approached him and said with a smile, Wan, if you have nothing to do, come to my house to play with Mayor. She always misses you. Looking at her bright smile, it was hard for Su Wan not to doubt whether his father and mother had agreed to this marriage. Su Yi resisted the urge to roll his eyes and pulled Su Wan away from her. Madam, I apologize for the poor hospitality. Please leave now. After saying that, he took Su Wan's wrist and walked into the reception room, where Su's mother and Su's father were looking at each other in silence. Mom, what did you say? Why does the lady look so happy? Su Wan asked hurriedly. Su's mother sighed and told Su Wan and Su Yi everything that the lady had just said. After hearing this, Su Wan fell silent. Don't ask, because if you do, you will be angry. He had a gloomy face and sneered. The Earl of Ningyuan's mansion, is this trying to use their power to force us to agree? Then we'll fight them to the end, and see if we're afraid of her threats. Anyway, Wan can't marry Ning Ziqian. If you have any problems, just come to me. Su Yi thought, at worst, he could just throw away everything. Madame Bo said that we should give her an answer in the next few days so that she can hold a banquet in the West Tower to discuss the marriage between the two families. She would directly call us father-in-law and mother-in-law. Isn't this forcing? What should we do? Mother Su is really worried. How could she be so strong? Tell them that I don't agree with this marriage. If she's powerful, let her deal with me. If I'm afraid I lose. Outside of Shangzhou City, I'm still a brave man. I can do business anywhere. I've planned to go to Suzhou today. I asked someone to look at the almanac. Today is a good day to go out for business. I'm leaving first. Don't be afraid, parents. No matter how powerful they are, they dare not do anything to us. Su Wan is not afraid. Isn't it just a tough fight? It is true that they are earls, but they only have the title without real power. They just act arrogantly in Xiangzhou Prefecture. In the future, Su Wan will have business all over the world, so she will not lack a piece of Xiangzhou pie. When Su Wan made such a bold statement, for some reason, Su's father and mother felt inexplicably happy. Su Yi was originally very depressed, but when he heard that his sister, such a brave man, was so open-minded, he felt that he was worrying too much. He was afraid that she would be upset because of this. That's right. No matter how powerful they are, can they still commit murder and arson? Wan, just go and do your own thing and go to Suzhou to relax. I'll take care of the family affairs. Su Yi put his hand on Su Wan's shoulder and patted it to comfort her. Nothing could stop her from getting rich. As for the Earl of Ningyuan's mansion, let them do as they please. So what should we do now? Su's mother was really confused by this sudden incident. Tomorrow I will bring the gifts they sent me and personally return them to them, and then I will reject this marriage proposal. The first thing Su Yi does when refusing a marriage proposal is to return the gift first, which shows that he is not afraid of power. Moreover, Su Wan had already prepared everything. The luggage and the carriage were packed and the almanac was checked. She had to go to Suzhou today anyway, and she would never give up her career for an unrelated person. Moreover, she, the person involved, is not in Xiangzhou, so let's see how they can continue to cause trouble. Su's father and mother sent Su Wan to the door and watched her leave in the carriage. This time, Su Wan not only brought Lu Yun and Lu Ying, but also Da Shu and Xiao Shu. Of course, she also wanted to hire a few thugs to protect herself. After all, Xiangzhou and Suzhou are far away, and she was afraid that it would be unsafe on the road. So she and Jiang Yu borrowed a few guards with high martial arts skills to accompany her, but she didn't want to trouble them in vain. After her repeated insistence, she prepared generous hiring fees for them, also because she didn't want to owe them favors. Moreover, if she went to the escort agency to hire thugs, she might as well ask Jiang Yu to borrow some. At least his people were more trustworthy. Jiang Yu was helpless about her insistence on paying the hiring fee, but he had no choice but to accommodate her. He had other things to deal with and needed to go on a long trip, so he couldn't go with her. The 4 guards he arranged were all top-notch masters, with martial arts skills that were not inferior to Feng Ying. They should be enough to protect her during her travels, but too many people would attract more attention and have a bad impact. After Su Wan left the city, he was not affected by this incident. Instead, he ate, drank, and slept to prepare for the next battle in Suzhou. The next day, Su Yi brought gifts from the Ningyuan Earl's mansion and went to the door in person to deliver them back. And it was made clear that their Su family had no intention of marrying into the Ning family. Lady Ningyuan was extremely angry and cursed the Su family for being ungrateful. She had a tantrum at home and even said something like she would make it impossible for their Yuan Hall to continue to operate. Ning Ziqian sat there, motionless, clenching his fists, his face turning blue and purple, and then purple and white, all because of Su Yi's words. "Young master, my sister has no romantic feelings for you. Please find another good partner and stop getting entangled with me." Ning Yuanbo himself also had a bad expression on his face and looked very angry. Not long after Su Yi left, the doorman came in a hurry to report, Uncle, there are distinguished guests in our house. Why are you so flustered? Is there any family in Xiangzhou more noble than us? The Ningyuan Earl's mansion is really a family of one. Everyone thinks highly of themselves and looks down on others. The person who came said that he was the prince of Duke Zhang's mansion. What? Who are you talking about? Ning Yuanbo didn't hear clearly, or, to be more precise, he thought he had heard wrong. The doorman took out a gold and jade plaque with the 4 big characters, Zhang Wugong Mansion, engraved on it. He said he was the prince of the Duke of Zhang's mansion in Kyoto, and he came to see our young uncle. When the Ning family heard the title of Duke Jiang, they were shocked. They thought that Duke Jiang was far away in Kyoto and was already leading troops to fight on the front line. Now that his son is here suddenly, why does it feel so unreal? However, this jade token that symbolizes identity represents everything. When Ning Ziqian heard that they were here to see him, he looked at his parents blankly, expressing his confusion. It was Ning Yuanbo who reacted first and said to the servant, "Go and invite the prince in, clean up the place, and prepare the best tea for him." Duke Jiang is a first-class marquis, so as a third-class marquis, he can only greet him politely and respectfully. Earl Ning Yuan then took Ning Ziqian, his wife and daughter, to the front hall to receive the guests. Jiang Yu was wearing a purple and gold robe today, dressed up formally, which could be said to be very consistent with his noble status as the eldest son of Duke Jiang. However, his expression did not look good at all. It was gloomy and gave people an invisible sense of oppression. After Ning Ziqian saw clearly that the person coming was Jiang Yu, the expression on his face gradually changed. At first, he still had a decent smile on his face, wanting to get to know this distinguished guest from Kyoto, which would be a good connection in the future. But at this moment, he suddenly felt as if his face was burned by fire, and his heart was oppressed so much that he couldn't breathe. "Prince Jiang, you are so honored to be here. I am sorry for not welcoming you in person. Please come in and take a seat." Even Earl Ning Yuan had to bow his head to show respect in front of Jiang Yu, who was so distinguished. A higher, ranking official can crush a person to death, let alone the Duke of Jiang, who is the right-hand man of the court and holds military power? He is a count in name only and not real, not worth offending at all. Jiang Yu did not express any reaction to Ning Yuanbo's warm hospitality and remained expressionless. He did not even bring anything with him this time. Even though he was more powerful than them, Xiangzhou was their territory after all. He should have followed etiquette and brought some gifts when he visited them for the first time. But he refused to give them this face. Jiang Yu sat down with his arms and legs spread out, his hands resting on the armrests of the chair, tapping them rhythmically with his fingers. His appearance that he was not here as a guest. It seemed as if someone had irritated him, and he was here to cause trouble. Earl Ningyuan and his wife looked at each other and knew something was wrong. They turned to look at their son, only to see that he had his head lowered, his body trembling slightly, and they didn't know whether he was angry or afraid. Prince Jiang is visiting me today. Is there something important? Earl Ningyuan began to test. Jiang Yu continued to remain silent, but the air around him had already dropped to dozens of degrees below zero. Just sitting there, the sound of knocking on wood was full of oppression. As time went by, a layer of cold sweat broke out on Ning Yuan's forehead. What on earth does this ancestor mean? He came but didn't say anything, just sat there and scared people. Is he here to be a guest, to cause trouble, or to show off his power? The whole family was sitting in their own home. Although they were sitting in the main seats, they were intimidated by an outsider. No one dared to speak. The wife of the Earl of Ningyuan, who is usually very self-important and domineering, dared not say a word and could only continue to be suspicious in her heart. A long time, the tea beside him had become cold and no longer steamed. Ning Yuanbo was covered in cold sweat. Ning Zhiqian was the most pitiful. He felt like the blood in his body was cold. No wonder he couldn't find out any identity of Jiang Yu because he was not from Xiangzhou, and he was extremely powerful, but he was still arrogant and looked down on him in front of him, not knowing that in the eyes of others he was just a jumping clown, not worth mentioning, and he was the only one who was embarrassed. It is said that the young master of Ningyuan Marquis' mansion has a girl he likes, and the lady of the Marquis has come to propose marriage in person? Jiang Yu finally spoke, but the calmer his tone was, the more frightening it made people feel. Moreover, he started talking about this matter right away.
Could it be that?
Oh, it's like this. Zhiqian has reached the age of marriage and has a girl he likes. He is afraid of missing out on her, so he asked me to go and propose marriage in person. Mrs. Bo seemed not to realize the seriousness of the matter and continued to explain cheerfully. I didn't expect that Prince Jiang would be so concerned about my son's lifelong affairs. I wonder if Prince Jiang and Zhiqian have known each other for a long time? Mrs. Bo was secretly delighted. Her son had made great progress and actually knew Prince Jiang. How come she had never heard of him? Mother, please stop talking. Ning Zhiqian interrupted the lady from continuing to speak. Mrs. Bo looked at her son blankly, expressing her confusion. Then, Jiang Yu sneered and said, "This prince doesn't care who he will marry in the future, but you can't think about Miss Su Lu, and you can't touch her either." As Jiang Yu spoke, he fiddled with the ring on his hand, turning it left and right. Earl Ningyuan and his wife felt a jolt in their hearts, as if they understood something. Mrs. Bo's voice trembled and she forced a smile. "What do you mean, my lord? Please explain clearly." Jiang Yu smiled when he heard this, raised his eyes and glanced at the people at the scene, and said sarcastically, "Don't you understand what it means literally? I heard that the Earl's mansion of Ningyuan had always intended to form a marriage alliance with the Earl's mansion of Shuani in Suzhou, but why did they suddenly change their minds and ask to marry the sister of this year's top scholar Su Jing?" After Jiang Yu finished speaking, he squinted his eyes and looked at Ning Zhiqian with a smile, but unfortunately, Ning Zhiqian lowered his head and said nothing. So he continued, "Oh, I remember now. The Earl of Ningyuan's mansion should have been inherited by the young master for the third generation, right? I heard that the young master didn't even pass the exam to become a scholar. I guess Earl Ningyuan must be very worried about the hereditary title, right? The water commander of Xuanhe is famous throughout the world for his water control strategy. The emperor has entrusted him with such a great cause for the ages. When the project is completed tomorrow, he will be made a marquis and appointed as a prime minister. If he can marry into the family of a new talent in the court, his position as the Earl of Ningyuan will be secure. Prince Jiang, please be careful with your words. My son is marrying the sixth daughter of the Su family because we are in love with each other and it is a happy marriage." Ning Yuanbo was so excited that he quickly denied it. A mutual affection? Young master thinks so, too? Hearing this word, Jiang Yu couldn't even laugh. His peach blossom eyes, which usually looked gentle and affectionate, were now filled with danger. It seems to be saying, "If I am not satisfied with what I say, you will be in trouble." Ning Ziqian's hands were clenched tightly under his sleeves. His nails pierced the flesh on his palms, leaving a bloody mess, but he didn't feel any pain. Only his heart was in pain. His dignity was now being ruthlessly dragged to the ground and trampled upon. "Young master, you have to think it over before you speak. After all, my Jiangwu mansion has some power in Kyoto. Yesterday, they came to threaten Su's father and mother like this, and today, Jiang Yu said the same thing back to them." For the first time, Jiang Yu felt that his identity as the eldest son of Duke Jiang had given him great convenience. He suddenly felt that this identity was not so useless. In terms of power, Duke Jiang was not afraid of anyone among the Kyoto nobles. It was just that Duke Jiang's mansion had always kept a low profile. However, that did not mean that anyone dared to target them and that they were completely fearless towards them. To be honest, Duke Jiang's military power was granted by the late emperor himself, and no one dared to interfere. The Duke of Jiang has always remained neutral in the court because they do not need to rely on any force and can still live in glory and keep themselves safe. It can be said that if Duke Jiang chooses to support a prince, that prince's position as crown prince will be halfway secured. Therefore, the Ningyuan Earl of Xiangzhou versus the Jiangwu mansion in Kyoto is like an ant versus a beast. Wanting to make them unable to turn over is just a matter of thought. Jiang Yu's threat is much more important than their threats to the Su family. Ning Yuanbua's body shook violently. He had no idea when his son had offended this giant Buddha, and it was all because of a woman. Ning Ziqian was fighting a battle for dignity in his heart at this moment. If he refused to bow his head, he would offend Duke Jiang, and it would be useless to marry anyone. If he obeyed, his dignity as a man would be severely trampled upon. When the powerful meet, the only thing they compete is who is stronger. "Qianer, the prince is talking to you." Earl Ningyuan's serious tone also seemed to be forcing his son. "For the honor and future of the Earl's mansion, please make a sacrifice. I fell in love with Sixth Miss at first sight, and it was my own wishful thinking. I overestimated my own abilities and coveted something that did not belong to me. From now on, I will not bother Sixth Miss Su again. Please rest assured, my lord." Ning Ziqian closed his eyes and spoke these words word by word with trembling voice. The wife of the Earl of Ningyuan also lowered her head, the skin on her face trembling, and she hated Jiang Yu in her heart, but she did not have the courage to express it and did not dare to offend him in person. The world is really going downhill. Yesterday, she was still arrogant in the Su family, but today it is her turn to be bullied in the same way. However, although Ning Ziqian expressed his opinion, Jiang Yu is still not satisfied with some aspects. She is not an object for you to weigh the pros and cons of, nor is she the cornerstone of your stable position. This prince also believes that the Ningyuan Earl's mansion is not the kind of short-sighted noble family. However, your rash proposal has made Master Su and Madame Su panic and unable to sleep at night. It is really worrying. Of course, I think that the young master and the daughter of Suzhou Shuani are a perfect match. I don't know when I can drink this wedding wine. I have met the young master a few times, although it was not very pleasant. However, I will definitely present a gift to the young master on his big day to express my best wishes." It was just a statement of opinion. Jiang Yu was still not satisfied. He spoke for Su Wan in words and deeds, and hinted that Earl Ningyuan could apologize to Su's father and mother. He even urged them to get married openly, saying that only when Ning Ziqian got married could he completely give up the idea of marrying Su Wan. Moreover, he's been jumping around in his own minefield for so long, so he deserves to marry a woman he doesn't like. In Suzhou is plain in appearance, but has outstanding talent. The legitimate son of the Earl of Ningyuan is handsome, but not famous for his talent. They complement each other perfectly and are a perfect match. But the Ningyuan Earl's mansion was an aristocratic family after all, and it was not something that could be destroyed by just a few words from him. Moreover, he did not bother to really use the power of the Jiangwu mansion to suppress them. Whether a family can prosper in the long run depends on the hard work and progress of its descendants from generation to generation. If you pin your hopes on a woman in order to preserve your glory for a day or a night, how can that be considered gentlemanly behavior? He is the one who looks down upon such people. If you have the ability, you can continue to pass on the title to your descendants on your own. Only then will you be worthy of being his opponent. He is using his power to oppress others today, and is also treating others in their own way. Your Highness is right. We were inconsiderate. We will go to Mr. and Mrs. Su in person to apologize tomorrow. Earl Ningyuan was so embarrassed today that he didn't care about bowing to Jiang Yu again. Jiang Yu left the Earl of Ningyuan's mansion. After he left, Earl Ningyuan got very angry and smashed everything. Ning Zhiqian was also extremely decadent. He had been drinking for several days in a row, with an unshaven beard and unkempt appearance, and he refused to see anyone. Half a month after Su Yi went to Earl Ningyuan's mansion, Earl Ningyuan and his wife came to visit again. Su's father and mother thought that they were here to force marriage again, and they were very anxious. Su Yi went straight to the front yard and stopped the Ning Yuanbo couple. "Master, madam, I think I have made it very clear the last time I went to the Earl's mansion. Our Su family is not a good match for the Earl's mansion, and we have no intention of getting married. I am afraid that I will cause trouble for the young master. If the young master feels that I have offended you, please forgive me. If you are really unhappy, this is all my fault. You can punish me as you wish." Su Yi only hated that he was now powerless and could not protect Su Wan from the wind and rain. All he could do was to face the difficulties head-on and use his body to block them. The uncle and his wife actually both looked unhappy, but they came today to apologize. "Fifth Master, you have misunderstood. We are here today to deliver the invitation." "Invitation? What invitation?" "This is my son's wedding invitation. We have formed an alliance with the Earl's Mansion of Shuani, Suzhou, and the wedding will be held in 2 months. I was very offensive when I came to propose marriage before, so I came today to apologize to Mr. Su and Mrs. Su and to deliver the invitation." The lady of the Earl explained patiently. This certainly could not be said by the Earl, as that would be too shameful. This time Su Yi really didn't understand. What happened in just half a month? Why did the Ningyuan Marquis Mansion suddenly change its mind and choose to marry someone else, and even lower its status to apologize to their family? I don't know where Mr. Su and Mrs. Su are. I will go and talk to them in person. Earl Ningyuan came today to apologize to Su's father and mother, so of course he had to see them in person. Su Yi had no choice but to take them to meet Su's father and mother. The old couple were already prepared for a new round of storms, but as soon as Ning Yuanbo and his wife came in, they apologized to him, saying that it was an offense for him to come to their house and ask for Miss Su Lu's hand in marriage, and hoped that they would let bygones be bygones. Then, respectfully hand over their invitations and ask them to come to the wedding banquet on the day. Even after Earl Ningyuan and his wife had passed away, Su's father and mother still hadn't reacted and felt like they were dreaming. The Earl and Countess came to them personally to apologize and send them an invitation? Are they so proud? However, this is also a good thing. At least their daughter Wanwan is safe and no longer needs to be forced to marry someone she doesn't like. It took Su Wan 7 days to reach the capital of Suzhou. She rested in the inn for a day to recuperate before going to the local dental clinic to check on the shop. Now that she has money, she must choose a shop with a good location, good orientation, and good internal layout to open a branch of Yuyantang. Traveling between Suzhou and Xiangzhou, the news of Xiangzhou goat milk soap must have spread here a long time ago, and it is quite well known. There is no need to find an agent, just open a store and sell it. Good things never lack people to support them, nor do they lack sales channels. She looked for a shop with the most prosperous location and the largest flow of people. Its area was about the same size as Yuyan Hall in Xiangzhou. She spent 1,200 taels of silver to buy it. After that, she had to find someone to decorate it, make a plaque, and then recruit talents and hire a manager who could write and do math to run the store. The candidates must have good moral character and a clean family background. Preference will be given to those who have experience as a shopkeeper. And the most important thing is that only female shopkeepers are recruited. At that time, a series of documents will be signed. If Yuantang suffers any loss, she will be responsible and pay the penalty for breach of contract. Moreover, the main workshop will be set up in Xiangzhou, and Suwon will form a professional team to escort the goods back and forth, so there will be no problem of secret recipe leakage. While Yuyan Hall was being renovated, employment notices were posted. Suwon stayed in a well-known local restaurant. If there were any applicants interested in this job, they could come directly to the inn to discuss the matter with her. It took 7 days to travel, 2 days to look at the shop, and if we hired a few more craftsmen to do the decoration, it would be completed in half a month. The most urgent task is to recruit a suitable female manager who will open all the markets in Suzhou and Yenzhou before the new year. For a period of time afterwards, Suwon had been meeting with female shopkeepers who came to apply for the job. After careful selection, she chose a sister named Liyun. She once opened her own shop, but unfortunately, it went bankrupt due to bad market conditions. She was married at the age of 25, but unfortunately, her husband died early. She had a daughter who had to take care of her parents-in-law, so her life was rather difficult. But her attitude was the most sincere. She asked to see Suwon 3 times and tried her best to fight for this position. Suwon asked her whether she wanted to be the female manager of Yuyan Hall to satisfy herself or to support her family. Because the condition she offered was that she would be the female manager of Yuyan Hall and receive a monthly salary of 30 taels of silver. Liyun was very frank. She said she really needed this job in order to support her family and children. It is precisely because she knows what this position means to her that she will remain absolutely loyal to Suwon and never betray him. She has to rely on these 30 taels of silver to support her family, so she will persevere for her family. She was the only daughter in her mother's family. She had to support not only her late husband's parents, but also her own family, which she found difficult to abandon. She is good at arithmetic. She is clear and calm when calculating accounts and using the abacus. Suwon is very satisfied with this. Suwon was also moved by her sincerity. In comparison, Liyun's situation was the worst, and she was also the most sincere. It was reasonable and emotional for Suwon to give her a chance. Moreover, women should be independent, which is Liyun's greatest advantage. Therefore, from that moment on, Levian was the shopkeeper of the Xiangzhou Yuantang branch, and by then the promotion tasks in various counties and cities in Xiangzhou would also need to be completed by her alone. She will be responsible for running the shop and stocking the goods. End of the year, if she does a good job, Suwon will give her a substantial bonus. We asked someone to do some calculations and decided to set October 28th as the opening date. We set out from Xiangzhou on October 1st, arrived on the 7th, booked a shop on the 10th, hired a female shopkeeper on the 20th, the craftsman finished the work on the 25th, put the job posting up on the 27th, and opened the business directly on the 28th. Our main goal was efficiency. In Xiangzhou, 10,000 yuan of basic goat milk soap was directly sent over, 10,000 yuan of dyed soap, 5,000 yuan of fashionable flower-scented soap, and 5,000 yuan of fashionable flower-scented hair soap. Suzhou has not been opened yet, so business will not be as good as in Xiangzhou, so these 30,000 bars of soap will take a long time to sell. My uncle asked people from the escort agency to escort the goods. He had already selected 2 large workshops and prepared the tools. He also went to the brokerage firm to select many skillful people to come back and do the work. All of them were his own people, so the secret recipe would not be leaked at all. Suwon attended the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the opening of the Suzhou Yuantang branch. The company was also doing promotions in the first 3 days and also prepared 1,066 good luck gift packs. Of course, the flow of people on the opening day was far less than when Yuantang and Xiangzhou opened. This was mainly because most people in Suzhou did not know about goat milk soap and needed to slowly accept it. After finishing the first 3 days, Suwon saw that Liyun was able to handle it with ease, so she could set off for Yenzhou with peace of mind. Next year, there are Jeju, Bongju, and Minju waiting for her to open branches, but it may be too late this year. If all these states are opened, the Jiangnan market will be opened up. After that is the Central Market headed by Zhongzhou and the Eastern Market headed by Kyoto. The road is long and arduous, and Suwon will search for it up and down. The road is long and difficult, but she has work to do. During the month that Suwon was in Suzhou, she only learned from the letter brought by the escort that the matter of the Ningyuan Earl's mansion had been resolved and that Ning Ziqian was going to marry the daughter of the Shuani Earl's mansion in Suzhou. But unfortunately, Suwon will not be able to attend their wedding next month because she is already embarked on the road to Yanzhou. The Jiangnan region is still relatively peaceful, but Suwon plans to keep a few more confidants around her, those with outstanding martial arts skills, so that she will be safer when she goes out to do business in the future. Besides, it won't be easy for her to keep relying on Jiangyu's people to protect herself, right? It takes another 5 days to travel from Suzhou to Yanzhou. Suwon has been busy outside for a month and feels that he has lost weight. She arrived at the gate of Yanzhou City. She opened the carriage window and looked at the 2 big characters above the gate. She couldn't help but think of someone who was also in this city. Last year, the Gu family moved, and Guyu now lives in this city. In the evening, Anne got inside before the city gates were closed. Yanzhou is even more prosperous than Xiangzhou. There is a beautiful river running through the city. Many people who make a living from the water set up stalls by the water to do business. Many people who don't want to walk will rent a small boat and swim along the river from beginning to end in their spare time. If you see delicious snacks on either side, just call out, and someone will bring them to you on the boat. It can be said that the most prosperous and lively place is the Yanzhou River. Suwon found an inn by the water to stay in. Her room was on the 3rd floor. She could see the hustle and bustle on both sides of the river below by opening the window. Suwon decided not to go to bed early tonight. He decided to experience the local customs and special food of Yanzhou first. The river, there is a sign with 4 big words Gu Family Shop written on it, but no one knows what business it does. The arch bridge below, a small boat was slowly swaying down. An old man standing at the stern was rowing seriously. He had a white beard, was dressed in cloth, and had a kind smile on his face. Inside the boat, which was covered with a layer of gauze, a breeze blew by, and a purple figure flashed inside, looming and attracting her attention. The weather in November has turned completely cool. In late autumn and early winter, the wind is bleak and the wind from the river blowing on your face will make you feel cold. Suwon suddenly felt a little expectant. She stared at the ship as it got closer and closer to her. She imagined how nice it would be if Jiangyu emerged from it. I haven't seen him for more than a month.
What is he busy with?
Girl, it's cold by the river. Let's put on a thin cloak before going out. Luiying and Luyun were busy behind her. Luiying found a cloak from her bag and put it on Suwon from behind. Following her line of sight, Luiying smiled and said, "Would you like to take a boat ride, girl? I'll rent one later." Suwon had this idea. She turned around, nodded to Luiying, and said okay. Luiying suddenly pulled her and pointed downstairs excitedly. "Girl, you don't have to rent it, just look." Suwon looked in the direction of her finger and saw a person standing on the bow of the boat he had just looked at. It was Jiangyu. He was still wearing his favorite purple robe and had his hair tied in a high ponytail. When the wind blew, his hair fluttered in the wind, making him look casual and spirited. However, the smile on his face was the most alluring. When he just stood there, the women passing by on both sides of the river blushed with embarrassment when they saw him. The bolder ones had already started whispering with their sisters, praising the handsomeness of this young man. Jiangyu waved to Suwon, signaling her to get off, as the boat had already docked. Suwon thought she had seen it wrong. Wasn't this exactly the same as what she had just imagined? She thought she must be too tired from running around for days and was having hallucinations. She rubbed her eyes and took a closer look. It was really Jiangyu. He had his hands behind his back, slightly tilted his head, and smiled at her happily. Suwon couldn't help laughing, and the 2 dimples at the corners of her mouth sank deeply. Luiying was watching the 2 of them staring at each other from the side, almost going crazy, with a smile like an auntie on her face. I have never thought that watching other people fall in love could be so interesting. It is even more interesting than falling in love yourself. Girl, please go down quickly. Luiying urged. Suwon nodded, closed the window, and went out. She lifted her skirt and trotted downstairs. The 4 guards who were waiting downstairs saw her going out and stood up to follow her after finishing half of their meal. Jiang Yu was still standing at the bow waiting for her, with a faint smile between his brows. Several guards followed out and saw their young master there. They began to hesitate whether to follow him. However, the young master winked at them, meaning that they didn't need to follow. With the young master here, he is worth 10 of them. Now that he has given the order, they can go back to their meals in peace. Su-won walked up to him, looking up at him slightly. Jiang Yu stretched out his hand and took her onto the boat. The old man rowing at the stern of the boat immediately used a bamboo pole to push the boat away from the shore and continued rowing forward. Jiang Yu led Su-won into the boat shed. On the table in the middle of the boat, the charcoal fire was bubbling with the broth in the boiler. Next to it were sliced pork, mutton, chicken, duck, and other meat dishes. There are also Su-won's favorite potato chips, old tofu, lettuce, etc. As far as she knew, this way of eating hot pot did not exist in Jean's state yet. She could only eat it often when she was at home in Yangao, because this was the way of eating invented by her 4th brother. Jiang Yu likes it very much. Every time he eats it, he seems to have a good appetite. Now he has brought this way of eating to the boat. You haven't eaten yet, right? We can enjoy the food while cruising. This weather is perfect for eating. The two sat opposite each other, and as soon as Jiang Yu sat down, he served her a bowl of soup. This guy really knows how to enjoy himself. Not to mention, there's really an indescribable artistic conception in eating like this. The evening breeze from the river blew up the curtains outside. Fortunately, there was a charcoal fire inside, so it didn't feel too cold. On the contrary, drinking a sip of hot soup at this time was really comfortable. After drinking the soup, Su-won sighed comfortably. Jiang Yu looked at her, his expression unconsciously gentle like water. I've been traveling for several days, and this bowl of soup has cured me instantly. Thank you, my good man. Jiang Yu chuckled softly. So, is this how you plan to get rid of a good person like me? Then what do you want to do? Su-won looked at him blankly. It depends on your sincerity. Jiang Yu's greatest pleasure was to tease her. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a piece of food in his bowl with chopsticks, all of which were freshly blanched meat, and someone was still happily picking up the food. Come on, eat more meat. You are so skinny. Jiang Yu covered his eyes helplessly and stopped him. All right, that's enough. I feel your feelings. Su-won then put down her chopsticks with satisfaction, looking at his bowl full of meat. She suddenly thought of when he was recuperating in their home. The conditions were not good at that time, and it was not easy to have a meal of meat. She also picked up meat for him, fearing that he would not be full. At that time, I just wanted to cling to the big boss. More big bosses would give me more pats. Who could have thought that we would reach the point where we like each other now? This count as a comeback for the supporting actress, singing and seducing the second male lead to success? How did you know I would be here? Su-won thought it couldn't be such a coincidence that they just happened to meet. I came from Minzhou, and just arrived yesterday. I guessed you would come to Yenzhou. He guessed that after she finished her work in Suzhou, she would go to Yenzhou and open branches in these two places before the new year. So, what are your plans for the future? This guy has been in Xiangzhou for nearly half a year. Now that the new year is almost coming to an end, he should probably go back to Zhongzhou, right? I'll accompany you to finish the affairs in Yenzhou, send you back to Xiangzhou, and then I'll go back to Zhongzhou. Jiang Yu replied, No need to be so troublesome, you can just go back to Zhongzhou directly, and I can go back by myself. Su-won felt that this was too troublesome. I'm worried about you. I won't delay anything. Jiang Yu helped her scoop the blanched old tofu into her bowl. His words made Su-won feel sweet in her heart, and a sweet expression appeared on her face subconsciously. In fact, Jiang Yu now always has a feeling of worrying about gains and losses. After seeing what happened in the Earl of Ningyuan's mansion, he suddenly felt that there would be many such rivals in love in the future. But he couldn't be with her all the time, so he could only cherish the hard-earned time they spent together. On the front line, the old man sent a letter saying that the war was getting intense, but the fighting had not started yet. The two sides were in a stalemate. As the legitimate son of the Duke of Jiang, and also bearing the title of the Crown Prince, he also needed to put on armor and go into battle, otherwise, the people in Kyoto would not accept it. The latest would be next year, so the time they had to spend together was very little. Once they go to the border, they will be away for several years. Time flies, but things and people can change easily. He cannot selfishly tie her down, which is too disrespectful to her. After finishing a quiet meal, Suwon came out of the boat shed, stood at the bow, and looked at the vendors doing business on both sides of the river with a happy and satisfied smile on his face. "Girl, do you want to buy some oranges to try?" A lady selling oranges in front waved at her. Jiangyu stood behind her and looked down at her. "Want to eat?" Suwon smiled and nodded, and Jiangyu asked the boatman to move closer and asked the eldest sister to weigh 2 kilograms of oranges. He gave her a piece of change, but the lady selling oranges couldn't make the change, so Jiangyu simply told her not to give the change. The eldest sister held the silver in both hands and thanked repeatedly. Suwon peeled one immediately. November is the season for eating oranges. The peel of the orange is green, but feels soft. After peeling it, the unique and pungent fragrance of the orange spreads. Suwon peeled off the orange peel and put a piece into his mouth. It was not as sweet as he had imagined, but so sour that it made people put on a mask of pain. She turned her back to Jiangyu with a painful expression on her face, but at the same time, she also had some bad thoughts in mind. "Is it tasty?" "It's delicious and sweet. If you don't believe me, try it." She broke off 2 pieces and handed them to his mouth. Jiangyu lowered his head, ate, chewed, and then frowned deeply. "Don't spit it out." Suwon saw that he was so sour and his evil plan succeeded, but he didn't let him spit it out. Jiangyu finished the whole meal with an indescribable expression on his face. The little girl, looking at her deliberately concealed smile, he knew that she had bad intentions, and it was just as he expected. The lights on both sides of the river made her outline look very soft, and her smile was deeply rooted in people's hearts. At this time, a boat came towards them. Suwon didn't pay attention to it. She only saw a girl in a pink dress coming out of the boat opposite and standing at the bow. She stared at Suwon and confirmed it again and again. Then she shouted cautiously and a little excitedly, "Suwon, is that you?" When Suwon heard someone calling her, she turned around and met Guyu's smiling eyes. Guyu? Next to her, a handsome man dressed in a white suit. Not only Suwon and Guyu found it a little unbelievable to meet here, Jiangyu also felt unbelievable when facing the man opposite. "I didn't expect to meet Master Jiang here again. I hope you're well." Before Suwon and Guyu could say anything, the man next to Guyu greeted Jiangyu first. Jiangyu clasped his fists, bowed slightly, and saluted him. "Greetings to the 5th prince." The 5th prince? When Suwon heard this name, she immediately looked towards that person. This 5th prince is the male protagonist Morong Sheng in the original book. The 5th prince's biological mother was of humble status and had no prominent family background. She rose to power from a palace maid. But because of her beauty, she is now ranked among the 4 concubines and is honored as Shufei. Shufei had no family to rely on. She was favored for her beauty in her early years, but she did not have outstanding literary talent, and her glory in the harem did not last long. However, she was able to secure her position as one of the 4 concubines only after she gave birth to a prince. In the eyes of outsiders, the 5th prince is the least likely of all the princes to become the crown prince. His mother has no support from her maternal family, so there are almost no ministers in the court who support him. Moreover, during the years when his mother was most favored, he was walking on thin ice and was always excluded and suppressed by the other princes. So, he took the route of pretending to be a pig and eating the tiger, deliberately hiding his literary talent and not showing it off. When he was a little older, he began to travel around and learn martial arts from famous scholars, so the 5th prince had little presence in Kyoto. When people occasionally mentioned him, they just said that the 5th prince had no interest in state affairs and loved traveling, so he could only be an idle king in the future. But they didn't know that the 5th prince was the most ambitious, and in an unnoticed corner, he had already begun to secretly build up his power. In the original novel, he was already operating in secret during this period, and he first showed his prowess after the war ended. His Majesty hopes that the princes can take the initiative to go to the battlefield and lead the troops to demonstrate the power of their great country. Let those outsiders know that their Jin Kingdom royal family is not just for show. However, those princes were used to wealth and splendor. They had lived a life of luxury since childhood and had never suffered any hardship. Their riding, archery, and martial arts were just superficial skills to get by. When it comes to going to the battlefield, they themselves are unwilling to do so, and their mothers are also unwilling to let their children suffer. The battlefield is dangerous, and one may lose their lives there. The most feared thing is that someone will plot against you and make trouble for you to die, so that there will be one less person competing for the throne. It was at this time that Morong Shung's opportunity came. He volunteered to go to battle. When he arrived on the battlefield, with the assistance of Jiang Yu, he made many contributions. After he came back, the emperor also began to pay attention to the son. At this time, Morong Shung naturally gained the support of the Jianggua mansion because of Gu Yu's life-saving grace to Jiang Yu, which made him even more powerful. In the later period, Morong Shung not only showed his extraordinary martial arts ability, but also began to show his mastery of political affairs. Su Jing and Su Chun of the Su family all stood under his camp. In addition, Gu Yu's financial support helped him to raise loyal soldiers and confidants, providing him with a solid backing. Moreover, the emperor has 7 sons, and only Morong Shung is capable of shouldering the important responsibility. Thanks to the efforts of Su Jing and Jiang Yu, several important civil officials also began to support Morong Shung. It can be said that he was the popular choice. The ending is that Morong Shung becomes emperor and Gu Yu rules the country as queen mother. No need to be so polite, just call me young Master Shung when you are outside. Yes, Jiang Yu nodded slightly. Although I say there's no need to be polite, he is a prince and I have to show him respect. In the original novel, Morong Shung is also a humble person, and he is very courteous to those he wants to win over. Jiang Yu was the first person he wanted to win over, and now that he had met him, he had to sit down and have a chat. When Su Wan heard his identity, he couldn't help but bow to him. Brother Shung, who is this? Gu Yu looked at Jiang Yu and asked him. She called him so intimately, it seemed that their relationship was developing well. Morong Shung heard this and explained with a smile, this is the eldest son of Duke Zhang's mansion, Jiang Yu. When Gu Yu heard the title of Duke Zhang, he understood that the prince in front of him was someone who needed to be won over. Prince Zhang. Gu Yu also greeted him. Jiang Yu nodded slightly to show politeness. Gu Yu then looked at Su Wan, and Su Wan smiled at her. She wondered, how could Su Wan know the prince of Duke Zhang's mansion and go on a date with him alone? Prince Zhang, it's fate that we meet. Why don't you come over and sit with us? Morong Shung took the initiative to invite. The 5th prince took the initiative to invite Jiang Yu, so he had to give him face. He looked at Su Wan and asked for her opinion. Su Wan nodded in agreement. So, the two of them stepped onto Gu Yu's boat. Jiang Yu went over first, then reached out to help Su Wan over. These intimate actions caught Gu Yu's eyes, making her even more confused. The 4 of them got into the boat, with Gu Yu sitting opposite Su Wan, and the atmosphere was a bit awkward. Finally, it was Gu Yu who spoke first. Brother Shung, this is the sister I mentioned to you before, the one whose identity I accidentally mistook for Su Wan. Su Wan was suddenly mentioned, and she smiled politely. For some reason, she felt a little uncomfortable when Gu Yu called her a sister. I often hear Yeye mention you, and your former brothers. She also said that she was not used to the sudden change, and was often jealous of you and your brothers. Morong Shung said with a smile. No, I was ignorant before. I thought my brothers would dislike me no longer, because they had a new sister. Now I think I was overthinking. Su Wan is their biological sister, and it's their responsibility for them to treat her well. Instead, I did a lot of wrong things and was petty. Gu Yu quickly waved her hands to explain, and her tone and expression became more lonely the more she spoke. In fact, Su Wan didn't have much resentment towards her. Seeing each other again after such a long time, apart from being a little embarrassed, He didn't feel anything. Besides, it would be nice if she really thought so. I didn't speak very nicely before, please don't mind it. In fact, if Guyu is willing to live in peace with her, she is also willing to reconcile with her. It would be great if everyone could live in harmony. Moreover, she is the heroine and has a halo around her. It would be best if we could become friends. Anyway, it is always good to follow the protagonist. Is fourth brother okay now? And are dad and mom healthy? And the other brothers, what are they doing now? Guyu had always felt guilty about having almost caused Su Yun to lose his life, and had a very unpleasant argument with everyone. Later, she ran to Yenzhou to escape. In fact, she had always been thinking about everyone in the Su family, so she was particularly excited when she saw that it was Su Wan just now. Fourth brother has recovered well and can eat, drink, and sleep. Parents are also in good health. Eldest brother passed the imperial examination and is now the governor of Xuanhe. Second brother is traveling with his master. Third brother has joined the army. Fifth brother has opened a painting studio and paints portraits for people. Everyone is doing well. Su Wan did not hide anything from her. After all, she has lived with the Su family for more than 10 years, and those feelings are real. Sometimes when Su's mother thought of Guyu, she would always sigh. Brother passed the imperial examination and became the top scorer? This is such a great joy. Guyu's expression and tone were filled with surprise. Because she didn't pay much attention to this matter, she didn't know that the top scorer in this year's exam was Su Jing. So this year's #1 scholar is your elder brother. I had the honor of meeting him. He is indeed a man of honor. His water control strategies are well known throughout the world. The people of Xuanhe are blessed. Su Jing was also on Morongsheng's list of people to be won over. He had met Su Jing and had spoken to him for a few words. He was sure that this man would achieve something in the future. If he could ascend to the throne in the future, he would need young and talented people like this under his command to clean up the filth that had accumulated over the years. Now that my eldest brother has graduated from high school, my parents can finally be said to have come to an end from all the hardship they have endured, and the Su family's ancestors are honored too. Guyu was happy for her eldest brother from the bottom of her heart. For some reason, when Su Wan saw Guyu again this time, he always felt that she was very different. From her words and the emotions in her eyes that compared to my previous dealings with her, I always feel that she has improved and seems to no longer care about those trivial gains and losses. Moreover, the look in her eyes before when she looked at him was clearly one of dissatisfaction, but now it became sincere, and he felt as if he had been possessed. In fact, she could feel before that Guyu didn't like her, and she didn't know whether she had really figured it out or it was just because her acting was so good. Or maybe she was thinking too much. She still remembered that after her fourth brother got into trouble last year, Guyu came to Yumingsala to apologize to him. As a result, everyone was extremely disappointed in her and the scene was very unpleasant. When she left for the last time, the look in her eyes was as if she wanted to eat herself. Although there are misunderstandings between the two of you, that is also due to the grudges of the previous generation. In the final analysis, you are both victims. If you can put aside your past grudges and become a pair of good sisters, it will be a good story to spread. I don't know what Guyu and Morongsheng talked about. It feels like Morongsheng knows everything, more than she knows. Now he has taken the initiative to help them reconcile. Su Wan just smiled and drank tea to hide her embarrassment. She didn't have any ill intentions towards Guyu. Guyu did not respond to this conversation, but picked up a piece of cake on the table and handed it to Su Wan with both hands. She looked at Su Wan with a smile, as if to say, as long as you accept this cake, we will be temporarily reconciled. Of course, Su Wan accepted it. Could she really offend the heroine? But those who understand know that it is impossible to let go of what happened between the two of them all at once. Just as Guyu had always been blaming Su Wan for living a life of wealth and glory for her for more than 10 years, and the 5 brothers who cherished her the most also changed their attitude after Su Wan returned. She felt that all the suffering was hers, and Su Wan was the luckiest one. You see, even though Su Wan lost her status as a rich lady, not long after she returned to her poor home, the Su family got better and better, and life became better and better. Her eldest brother is now the top scholar. It was as if Suwon took some time to experience rural life, and when she returned, she was still a rich lady. But she didn't know that Suwon's current position was inseparable from her own efforts, and she also fought a lot for this. In fact, Guyu also knew that the identity exchange was not caused by Suwon, but there were some thorns in her heart that could not be removed, and she just couldn't become a close sister with her. From now on, the two of them should continue to get along peacefully, but they will not cross that line. I'm very curious, how did Prince Jeong know Miss Su? Morong-shung and Jeong-yu had very few dealings with each other. He had only met him once at the Imperial Palace banquet in Kyoto the year before last. Jeong-yu was wearing a mask and his true face could not be seen clearly. Later, they met again by chance in the back garden, and I happened to see his face after he took off the mask. If it wasn't for this coincidence, he really wouldn't have recognized her when they met on the boat just now. The reason why I can remember it after just one meeting is mainly due to Jeong-yu's outstanding appearance, which makes people unforgettable. Jeong-yu, the eldest son of Duke Jeong's mansion, started learning martial arts at Fonghua Villa when he was young and seldom returned to Kyoto. Even when he socialized in public, he wore a mask. So everyone speculated that young Master Jeong was ugly or had an injury on his face, so he didn't dare to show his true face. In fact, they were all wrong. Young Master Jeong chose to cover his face because his appearance was too eye-catching. Morong-shung is very popular in Kyoto. His face is the dream lover of thousands of girls in Kyoto. However, in their eyes, the fifth Prince Morong-shung is not diligent in government affairs and has no lofty ambitions. Therefore, few girls of marriageable age in some aristocratic families think of marrying their daughters to him. He thought that if the Prince of Jeong showed his true face, then the dream lover of thousands of girls would not necessarily be him, Morong-shung. Then how did Gongzi-shung know Miss Gu? Jeong-yu did not answer his question, but threw the question back. If he, a prince, can get to know an ordinary merchant girl, why can't he, a crown prince, get to know her? Morong-shung obviously didn't expect Jeong-yu to ask him back. His expression froze for a moment, then he looked at Guyu with a smile. Guyu also looked at him, and the two of them glanced at each other, and Guyu's face turned red with embarrassment. It seems that these two people are in the passionate love period. The relationship between the male and female protagonists developed so well that Suwon felt inexplicably at ease. Now, Jeong-yu doesn't like Guyu anymore, which means he has escaped the fate of being the miserable second male lead. How great! Of course it's fate. Morong-shung felt that it was fate that made them meet, get to know each other, fall in love, and then support each other. He finished speaking. He looked at Jeong-yu, who replied, "Ditto." Morong-shung smiled knowingly and looked back and forth at Jeong-yu and Suwon. You two look like a good match. Really? Thank you for the compliment. You and Miss Gu are a perfect match. Jeong-yu finally laughed because of this sentence since he sat down. He was definitely in love. Suwon thought his useless appearance was cute, but she discovered that Guyu was looking at her with a puzzled look, as if saying, how could Prince Jeong like her? Suwon looked back at her unceremoniously and seemed to be answering her. Why? The fifth prince can like you, but Jeong-yu can't like me? The two of them curled their lips at the same time, and at this moment they felt like they were back to the state before where no one looked down on the other. That's right, this formula is more familiar. The way they got along before was too fake, and she was not used to it yet. Suwon, why did you think of coming to Yanzhou? Seeing that everyone was silent, Guyu took the initiative to find a topic and mentioned Suwon again. I'm here to do business.
Suwon answered truthfully.
What's your business? Goat milk soap business. I plan to open a branch in Yanzhou. Suwon thought, you are asking this even though you already know the answer. Are you going to open a branch? Guyu was a little bit unbelievable. It had only been a short time, less than a year, and she had already opened a branch in Yanzhou. In fact, she had been quietly following Suwon's business because she personally liked the goat milk soap made by Suwon, but it was not available in Yanzhou. Every time her father's caravan went to Xiangzhou, she would ask them to bring back soap for her. She really likes their fashionable flower soaps, all of which have nice scents. Although Suwon is not very likable, the goat milk soap she makes is very likable. Yeah, what's the matter? Do you look down on me? Suwon raised her chin proudly, which made Guyu almost roll her eyes. If she hadn't been concerned about the presence of her beloved, she would have had to argue with Suwon. If you need any help, just tell me. I will help you in any way I can. I am familiar with Yanzhou. Guyu began to act like a host, waiting for Suwon to ask her for help. As a result, Suwon smiled and said, "Don't bother you. I can do it alone." Hadn't planned to meet Guyu when she came here, but she had solved it in Suzhou in just 1 month. Seeing that she refused so decisively, Guyu did not get angry but changed the subject. How about this? Since this is your first time in Yanzhou, I will take you to eat, drink, and have fun tonight so that you can experience the local customs and practices of Yanzhou. How do you think? That's possible. She is willing to be a tour guide, so Suwon certainly has no objection.
Sure.
Thank you for your hard work. She was quite polite and even used honorifics. The two girls seemed to be getting along peacefully, but in fact, they were at loggerheads. Murong Sheng smiled helplessly. However, Jiang Yu was not very happy. He originally wanted to be alone with Suwon tonight, but who knew that the fifth prince and Guyu would suddenly show up? Prince Jiang, do you have anything else to do? If not, why don't we do as Yuer said and go to the Yanzhou River together? Murong Sheng also invited Jiang Yu. Suwon has agreed, so there is no way he won't go. He has to play his role as the flower protector. So the four of them went ashore and began to stroll along the riverside streets. They bought a little bit of food and fun things. Murong Sheng and Jiang Yu followed behind, each paying for their own girls without bothering anyone else. When it comes to relationships, they are very clear about every penny. After all, there is no reason for them to let another unrelated man pay for the woman they like. Suwon and Guyu were walking in front. Although they were walking side by side, they basically didn't talk to each other, and the distance between them was enough for another person to stand. At a jewelry stall, their eyes both fell on the same pearl flower, and they reached out their hands at the same time to take it. When they turned around and saw that the other person also liked it, they moved their hands away tacitly and chose something else. In the end, they didn't want the one they liked at the beginning. Between girls, and I can't explain why. In addition to paying the money in the back, Jiang Yu and Murong Sheng were also talking about something. I didn't pay attention and could only see the two of them talking to each other. Jiang Yu looked rather cold and didn't speak much. It was Murong Sheng who was talking all the time, and he was answering. Suwon knew that they were probably talking about political affairs, or some topics that were not convenient to make public. She and Guyu tacitly chose not to disturb them. I have been talking for so long, but I haven't described Murong Sheng's appearance in detail. He has a pair of standard fox eyes and a small teardrop mole at the corner of his eyes, which is very representative. He also has very white skin and red lips, which makes him look feminine and beautiful. Moreover, he is the kind of boy with feminine appearance, not as handsome as Jiang Yu. Although he looks as beautiful as a demon, the heroic spirit in him cannot be ignored, and the masculine energy that belongs only to men is also very strong. Generally speaking, if these two people were written as Dan, Jiang Yu would definitely be the iron attacker. Oh no, what was she thinking about?
She was getting off topic.
Suwon felt that the more she thought about it, the more outrageous it became. She shouldn't question Jiang Yu's lovual orientation. As they walked, the two people carrying bags had their hands full. It was already late at night, and there was nothing left to see. In fact, the two girls didn't want to go shopping anymore, but Guyu knew that her Murong Sheng really needed to win over the Prince of Jiangwa, so she deliberately delayed the time, wanting them to have more contact and talk. The vendors on the street had already closed their stalls one after another, but Jiang Yu was the first to speak up and said that they would stop there for the day. Mr. Sheng, it's late at night. Wanwan is exhausted from traveling all day and just arrived in Yanzhou today. I'll send her back to rest. Let's stop here today. Where do you live? I'll ask someone to take you there. Murong Sheng took the initiative to suggest. No need to trouble you. Thank you for your hospitality today. We'll meet again someday. Jiang Yu clasped his fists and bowed to him. Suwon followed suit and bowed, feeling like a husband and wife following suit. Morongxing knew that Jiang Yu is not someone who is easy to win over, and they had just met in the true sense and did not know each other very well, so it was impossible for them to be open-hearted to each other. From the conversation just now, Prince Jiang still has some reservations and distance towards him. Duke Jiang has always remained neutral and has not interfered in disputes over the succession. His son is like an iron wall and is difficult to break. But he could conclude that Jiang Yu is a talented and capable person. If he could conquer him, his future would be much easier. Brother Sheng, how is your conversation with Master Jiang? Gu Yu asked, looking at their backs after Su Wan and Jiang Yu walked away. Not very good. He seems to have the same attitude as his father and is not easy to win over. However, he cares a lot about this Miss Su and doesn't seem like he's just playing around. Morongxing discovered that although Jiang Yu had been talking to him, his eyes never left Miss Su. Hearing this, Gu Yu couldn't help but curl her lips and mutter, "It's no wonder. After all, Su Wan is very beautiful, and I have to admit that I'm not as pretty as her." Gu Yu admitted that Su Wan was beautiful, and it was a fact. However, her words were a bit sour, as she felt that Su Wan won the favor of Prince Jiang precisely because of her outstanding appearance. "I don't think so. You will always be the most beautiful in my heart." However, Prince Jiang is not the kind of person who judges people by appearance. "I believe that Miss Su must have something unique to win the prince's favor, just like me towards you." Morongxing looked at Gu Yu with a very gentle expression. "This official match is the official match, it's set in stone." Morongxing kept talking and did not forget to express his affection to Gu Yu, which made people feel embarrassed, and he lowered his head and blushed. On Su Wan's side, Jiang Yu followed her quietly. Su Wan didn't ask him anything. Tonight was the first time he revealed his identity in front of her, but she didn't seem to find it strange at all, and didn't ask him a single question. "Don't you have anything to ask me?" Jiang Yu couldn't help it and asked. Su Wan heard this, tilted his head to look at him, and said teasingly, "What do you want me to ask you, my dear prince?" This little girl was teasing him, and he didn't know how to respond. After thinking for a long time, he finally managed to say, "I don't like you calling me prince." "So, his name is Prince Jiang?" Su Wan teased him deliberately. Jiang Yu frowned and looked at her, feeling helpless. "I don't like you calling me prince. You never need to use honorifics when you are here with me. The title of crown prince is a noble status, high above everyone else and not to be desecrated, but he does not want the status to become a distance between him and Su Wan." He kept throwing out a few sweet words, which made Su Wan feel embarrassed. However, she has been thick-skinned for a long time and is not like Gu Yu, who blushes easily. "I was just teasing you. Actually, I knew you were not an ordinary merchant. I was lucky enough that I didn't think you were a prince or something. I guessed you were of noble status, so I wasn't surprised." Su Wan explained to him why he was not curious. She was indeed smart and calm. Jiang Yu thought she was worthy of being the woman he liked. The two of them walked back to the inn they had been in before. It was a long way to walk. After floating so far on the water and then walking on shore for so long, Su Wan's feet hurt. Jiang Yu seemed to have noticed this problem as well, so he took the initiative to walk to the front and squatted down, ready to carry her on his back. "You must be tired after walking for so long. Come on, and I'll carry you." He was carrying had already been handed over to the guards who came to pick him up, so Jiang Yu had nothing in his hands at the moment. Su Wan's legs were indeed sore after walking all night, so she didn't act pretentiously and just lay on his back. He easily stood up with her on his back. The two of them are in a romantic relationship now, so it shouldn't be too much to carry him on your back, right? "You are too light. You should eat more and gain some weight." A boy tells a girl that she is light. It is a huge compliment to the girl. "Really? Am I really that light?" Su Wan asked happily while lying on his shoulder. "Well, it's very light. I can lift it with one hand." Jiang Yu answered seriously. Upon hearing this, Su Wan couldn't help but slap him on the shoulder. He said he could speak in the last second, but his true colors were revealed in the next second. "I was wrong." Jiang Yu admitted his mistake very quickly. Su Wan hadn't even said anything yet, but he already admitted his mistake. If she still made a fuss about it, Wouldn't that be immature? Girls only like to hear people praise them for being thin and pretty. Even if we get fat and no longer pretty one day, you still have to flatter us against your conscience. Soo-won explained this to him.
Why?
However, Jong-yu, a straight man, didn't understand.
Why?
Of course, clothes look better when you are thinner, and you look better when you are thinner. Girls all love beauty, do you understand? Soo-won was really impressed by him.
He still asked why.
But I think you would be cuter if you were a little fatter. Jong-yu fantasized about it and decided that a fat girl would be more comfortable to hug in the future. Soo-won rolled his eyes, and then the two of them started muttering to each other. Soo-won, don't talk nonsense, I don't believe you. Jong-yu, no, I'm serious. Soo-won, then I'll be fat until I weigh 180 pounds and show you if I'm cute enough. Jong-yu, actually being too fat is not good either. Soo-won couldn't stand it anymore and covered his mouth to stop him from speaking. Can we not talk about gaining weight?
Well, okay.
Jong-yu carried her all the way back to the inn, and Soo-won was almost falling asleep on his back. He carried it such a long distance, and for such a long time without even taking a breath or bending his waist. Putting her down at the door, Soo-won took the initiative to help him straighten the wrinkles on his clothes on the back. Okay, I'm here. Where do you live? Soo-won still doesn't know where this guy lives. He might live on a boat. Where do you live? I'll live next door to you. Jong-yu started to talk seriously again. I don't believe it. If you don't believe me, go and have a look. Jong-yu was waiting for her to say this, and then he took her hand and walked upstairs. When they reached the third floor, Lu-yun was waiting at Soo-won's door, while the room next door was guarded by Jong-yu's two guards. What he said was right, they lived next door to her. I didn't lie to you, did I? After finishing, he still looked like he was asking for praise. Soo-won deliberately shook off his hand and raised her chin proudly. I'm tired, and I'm going to sleep. Remember to ask them to deliver all the things I bought today. Jong-yu's palms were empty in an instant. He smiled helplessly and dotingly, then watched her enter the room and disappear. Closing the door, Lu-yun looked back at Jong-yu, nodded at him, and then closed the door. Lu-ying fell asleep while waiting inside. When she heard Soo-won came back, she immediately went to prepare hot water for her to take a bath. They're going to look at shops tomorrow, so business is more important. Jong-yu said that he would stay with her until things here are done, but she doesn't know if it's true. To meet Gu-yu and Morong-shing tonight. I can only sigh that this world is too small to meet such people. Taking a bath and having a comfortable sleep, when he woke up in the morning, Jong-yu opened a cubicle on the second floor to drink tea and have breakfast. By the way, let's discuss today's itinerary. First, we'll go to the dental office to check out the shop and take care of the business there. Soo-won thought about it and decided that the shop must be opened on the bank of Yeonjo River. This is the most representative street in Yeonjo and also the street with the largest flow of people. Jong-yu prepared a table of Yeonjo's specialty breakfast. Breakfast here should be drunk with tea, sesame tea, which is quite fragrant. During the meal, Jong-yu kept picking up food for her. When she was halfway through eating, Morong-shing sent someone over and said that he invited the two of them to a dinner in the evening to drink and chat. He wanted to make friends with Jong-yu, so he naturally couldn't miss this opportunity to get along with him. He sent someone to inquire about their residence early in the morning and sent someone to invite them. The fifth prince himself, and the location was at the current Gu mansion. Jong-yu hesitated whether to go or not, as he was afraid that Soo-won would be unhappy. Soo-won didn't think anything of it. Just go. In the original novel, Jong-yu was in the camp of the fifth prince. Moreover, Morong-shing was the emperor destined by heaven. He was born to be the emperor. All his merits were for the country and the people. The other princes were more ridiculous than each other. From an official standpoint, Jong-yu would definitely not be wrong to stand on his side, so her not wanting to go was secondary. It's okay, just go there, it won't cost you anything, and besides, I'll be a customer when I go. What can they do to me? Soo-won felt that Gu-yu was trying to please her now, and she wanted to rely on her to win over Jong-yu. Don't think she doesn't know. The reason why she treated you better and took the initiative to make peace was just for this matter. Since Soo-won agreed, Jong-yu naturally agreed. They would have to stay in Yenzhou for a while anyway, and Morongsheng would definitely invite them often. Even if they could avoid it once, they wouldn't be able to avoid it a second time, so they might as well face it calmly. If you go and tell the fifth prince, you must arrive on time in the evening and prepare gifts for the visit. Don't be impolite. The host family is the Gu family, so just follow the Gu family and don't be too presumptuous. Jiang Yu gave orders to his men to prepare gifts. The fifth prince was hosting a banquet at Gu's house, and he himself was a guest, so of course he had to take precedence over the host. After dinner, Jiang Yu accompanied Su Wan to the dental clinic and specifically asked for a prosperous shop on the bank of Yenzhou River. The storefront had to be conspicuous, the location couldn't be remote, and the layout inside couldn't be small, otherwise it would lose the dignity of her Yuyan Hall. The people in the dental clinic were very smart. When they saw how Su Wan and Jiang Yu were dressed, they knew that they were not short of money. With good locations and good layouts are shown to them, so they can choose. Su Wan selected several, then conducted on-site inspections, and finally chose the one that he was most satisfied with. It is right next to the river, with bright light during the day. Outside the door is a ladder leading directly to the river. Sometimes, if there is a lantern festival in the city, this is a must-visit spot for releasing river lanterns. The main reason was that there was a shop owned by the Gu family across the river, selling cloth, so she wanted to choose this place and open a shop face-to-face with them. You looked down on her before, but now I'll let you see how good Yuantang's business is. The shop spent 1,100 taels of silver to get the title deed. This shop is new and has been renovated inside. It just needs to be decorated a little to make it more elegant. Clean it and hang some gauze inside to set off the atmosphere. Put some flowers and plants in there and hang a few calligraphy and paintings. There are also various counters used for displaying goods. We found the most famous carpenter in the city to customize a set and also made a plaque with the name Yuyan Hall. Su Wan asked his eldest brother to write the inscription personally as a template. In the future, the plaques and fonts of all Yuantang branches across the country would be the same, using the font written by his eldest brother. Find some time to go to the dental clinic and hire a few people to serve as waiters and clean the store, and then hire a female manager to manage it. Just post the employment notice on the shop, and those who are interested can come to the restaurant to interview her. The rules and requirements are that one must be proficient in arithmetic and abacus, and keep clear and tidy account books. Experienced people are preferred, and the age must be between 20 and 30 years. One must sign a contract, which starts at 5 years, and must be stamped by the government. During this period, the shopkeeper will be responsible for any man-made losses in Yuyan Hall. If one withdraws before the contract expires, he will be required to pay a certain amount of liquidated damages. But these things certainly cannot be done in one day, they can only be done step by step. Su Wan was busy all day long, talking and walking all the time. Jiang Yu stayed by her side obediently, serving her tea and water, without any complaints, and even gave her some advice from time to time. To be honest, with him by his side, Su Wan felt that his efficiency had improved. When he was tired, he would look at his amazing face, which was very pleasing to the eyes. After a busy day, she had to pack up and accompany Jiang Yu to the Gu mansion to meet Morongsheng. Lu Yun and Lu Ying helped her prepare clean clothes, combed her hair into a beautiful bun, and dressed her up beautifully for her to go. Jiang Yu also dressed up and completely changed his style. Today, he rarely wore his favorite purple color, but changed into a black costume with auspicious cloud patterns. The threads on it were all fine silk threads, and the patterns could be clearly seen under the light. There was also a circle of black fluff on the collar, and no one knew what animal's hair it was, but it looked very soft and swayed slightly in the wind, looking very stylish. His hair was no longer tied up in a high ponytail, but was tied up with a black crown and a hairpin, which looked neat and exquisite.
He changed his style today.
He no longer made people feel that he was in high spirits and dressed in fine clothes. Instead, when he stood there, he exuded a temperament of indifference. His serious expression made Su Wan feel as if he saw the villain and powerful official in an old novel, the kind who had everything under control and had an aura of 2 meters and 8. Why aren't you wearing purple today? Su Wan still asked the question in his mind. Jiang Yu changed his style, and it seemed that his inner temperament had also changed. He lowered his eyes and smiled faintly, with one hand behind his back and a jade ring on the other hand. Today, even his smile seemed a little more indifferent, and he looked very dangerous, as if he had the power of life and death over you. It's good to change your taste occasionally. If you see the same thing for too long, it will become boring. In fact, the change today was mainly due to the gossip of one of his men at the door. Now the entire guard group knew that the young master liked Miss Su Lu, to the point of being unable to extricate himself. He thought about her wherever he went and was willing to follow her. So, a few people started gossiping, saying that the young master looked the same every day and whether Sixth Miss would get tired of him one day and not want to see him anymore. This was just some gossip that Jiang Yu heard accidentally, but it instantly made him suddenly enlightened. As a typical love-brained person, he was very good at taking in other people's suggestions. Originally, he wanted to wear white, as it is said that one should wear white to look chic in mourning. But Morong Sheng would definitely wear white today as well. Besides, white suits him well and looks good on him. So, he couldn't step on this trap and be outdone by him. Then you are quite versatile, not bad. Su Wan clapped his hands in support. What does versatile mean? Jiang Yu had never heard of such a novel word. In fact, this word is easy to understand, but Su Wan is still happy to explain it for him. What matching everything means is that everything will be suitable. You can understand it as you look good in anything you wear. Su Wan originally wanted to say, no matter what I look like, you match me well, but this is too rustic and doesn't fit her style.
No.
But someone found Su Wan's explanation quite useful because it sounded like he was praising him no matter how he listened to it. Then I'll wear them one by one and show them to you later. He suddenly felt that he didn't have to be purple in this life.
Okay, Su Wan agreed.
Anyway, he found it pleasing to the eyes no matter how he looked at it, and it was a kind of respect for his own eyes. I just don't know when I can wear red to show you. As he was talking, Jiang Yu suddenly said this. Su Wan didn't react at first, but when she reacted, no matter how thick-skinned she was, she couldn't help blushing. Why is he, a grown man, wearing red? He only wears red on his wedding day. What he means is that he is asking her when she will marry him. He is such a clever boy. Su Wan was shy and didn't say anything, but Jiang Yu continued to talk persistently, determined not to let the atmosphere cool down. You look good in red. It suits you best, but I don't know how you look in red and green. He continued to tease the girl's mind. In Jin country, when men and women get married, they always pay attention to the presence of a handsome man and a green woman. Men wear bright red wedding suits, and women wear auspicious clothes that are mainly green with a red base. Su Wan didn't know how to answer his shameless question, so she just covered his mouth. Don't get me wrong, this congestion is not that congestion, but I think the way you're dressed today would suit your temperament better if you said less. Su Wan complained under her real name. Such an elegant and restrained outfit must be worn in a cool and aloof manner. Who's cosplaying as a powerful villain is the type that keeps talking non-stop. Jiang Yu was disliked by her, but he was not angry. Instead, the smile on his face deepened. It's rare to see this girl blush, but today I finally saw her blush, and her evil plan succeeded. The carriage finally arrived, and Su Wan climbed into it swiftly and sat down. Jiang Yu followed slowly and sat opposite her. The carriage set off for Gu's residence. Su Wan leaned against the window and looked at the hustle and bustle of traffic outside. The sky gradually darkened, and the wind became colder. Seemed to be in a good mood after he met the carriage. He placed his hands neatly on his knees and closed his eyes to rest. It only took half a quarter of an hour to get there. The Gu mansion was very big, and Guyu had her own separate courtyard. The back garden was also ready for a night banquet, and Mrs. Gu had the servants bring in many famous flower and potted plants. They all knew Morong Sheng's identity. Ever since they knew his feelings for their daughter, they treated him as their son-in-law. They took very good care of him during the time he lived in their house. This time, she heard that the eldest son of Duke Jiang would be visiting, so Madame Gu arranged everything very carefully to entertain the distinguished guest. Now Guyu's status is naturally not worthy of the fifth prince, but the Gu family's business is doing well, and they have opened branches of cloth shops everywhere. The family savings are very high. Murongsheng plans to find a status for Guyu that is worthy of him. Otherwise, a merchant girl would not even be able to become a concubine if she married into the royal family, let alone the position of the principal wife. Even if he was willing, the royal family would still complain. However, Suwon is also coming today, and Ye said that her elder brother is now the top scholar and holds an official position, and Suwon is also the daughter of an official. She can act bossy when she sees her now. Their status and position have unknowingly risen, and they have become a family of scholars. Scholars, farmers, merchants, and artisans, all of them are ranked at the front because of the eldest brother's face. Moreover, she has won the favor of Prince Jiang and might become his wife in the future. In order for their daughter Ye to sit in the highest position in the future, she has to lower her face and smile to please him. In fact, Suwon wanted to come to Gu Mansion today to see Mrs. Gu's attitude and see if it had changed compared to before. When she thought that she would treat her warmly now, she was looking forward to it. When they arrived at the gate of Gu Mansion, the servant saw the carriage coming and went in to report. Murongsheng and the Gu family came out to greet them personally. "Prince Jiang, you are finally here. I have been waiting for you for a long time." Murongsheng came forward with a smile on his face. Guyu followed beside him and gave Jiangyu a gift. When Suwon saw the fifth prince, he also had to greet him. First, the two girls looked at each other. Wow! They were both dressed up carefully, and neither of them gave in to the other. "Greetings to His Highness." Jiangyu bowed to the fifth prince. Murongsheng reached out to support him with full sincerity. As for Jiangyu, whenever he was not alone with Suwon, he would naturally put on a false mask, acting cold, indifferent to everything, and looking difficult to approach. "This is the famous Prince Jiang. I have heard of you for a long time. My daughter told me about your elegance this morning. Now I can see you in person. What a blessing." Master Gu saw the right opportunity and greeted Jiangyu. "Mr. Gu, you're too polite." Jiangyu was still as quiet and frugal with his words as he was last night. Next, it was Suwon's turn. Last year, they were a loving family, but later they became strangers and had an unpleasant argument. When I see them again now, I really don't know what attitude to take. Wanwan is becoming more and more beautiful. This was all Mr. Gu said at last, and then he threw the problem to his wife. He turned his head to look at Mrs. Gu and gave her a wink. Mrs. Gu smiled awkwardly and thought to herself, "It's not easy for you to face it, but it's easy for me. I have never thought about asking for help from others before." However, she still straightened her manners, walked up to Suwon and said with a smile, "Wanwan, I haven't seen you for a long time. I miss you so much. You've grown taller and become more beautiful." "That's great." As expected, this kind of pretense is hereditary. It's too fake, really too fake, just as fake as Guyu. "Mrs. Gu is getting younger and younger," Suwon replied politely. Jiangyu saw her deliberately smiling. Her eyes narrowed into slits, which looked so fake and cute. He couldn't help but chuckle slightly, but soon returned to his expressionless face. The Gu family invited them in and took them to the back garden. They set up 2 tables in the pavilion with wine and food on them. Next to the table was a stove burning sandalwood, and there were early winter plum blossoms in a vase, all of which were in bud. There was also someone playing the piano in the dark, which made the scene quite elegant. Suwon and Jiangyu sat together. Murongsheng and Guyu sat opposite them, while Mr. Gu and Mrs. Gu did not participate in the activities of this young man. Soon after we sat down, dancers came out to dance, which is a must for royal banquets. It is not like an ordinary gathering where people just drink and chat, but when a royal family entertains guests, singing and dancing are inevitable. Afterwards, the topics initiated by Murongsheng were all about romantic topics, such as what flowers everyone liked, what tea everyone liked to drink, what season everyone liked, and what hobbies everyone had in playing the piano, chess, calligraphy, and painting. He probably wanted to find out Qing Zhengyu's hobbies in order to infer his style of doing things and then cater to his preferences. However, He became rather cold in such occasions, as if he was born not fond of laughing. He was very frugal with words and sometimes spoke one word at a time.
Shuan felt bored.
The only thing worth watching was the singing and dancing. Looking at the dancers' soft and delicate figures, she held her head up and smacked her lips in her mouth. Wow, what a lovely slender waist. Girls actually also like to look at beautiful women, and she is no exception. She also thinks that, in comparison, she knows nothing. She has been saying that she wants to learn, but has never put it into practice. She has never stopped setting flags, but never started taking action. While she was distracted, Guyu had already called her several times from the other side. It was only when Jiangyu gently patted her shoulder that she reacted. His gaze to Guyu, he asked, "What's wrong? I wasn't paying attention just now." I saw Guyu took out a guzheng from somewhere and placed it there. The singing and dancing had stopped, and the dancers had all left. I have been busy this year. I wanted to learn some musical skills. After choosing and choosing, I still prefer the guzheng. Now I have learned a few songs. I would like to ask you to listen to them for me. Is that okay? Guyu looked at Su-won expectantly, smiling sincerely. Su-won's heart skipped a beat, and he sat up straight, thinking, wow, this is involution. This is showing off. Apart from making a little money this year, she was not good at any of the arts such as music, chess, calligraphy, painting, poetry, or song. This Guyu always wants to suppress her. Darn it, she also wants to be introverted. She might as well learn some musical instrument and come back to surprise everyone one day. Okay, you play it and I'll listen to see if that's the way it is. Su-won pretended to know a lot and was determined not to lose in the verbal battle. Guyu began to play the piano, plucking the strings with her hands. Su-won didn't understand music. He only knew whether it sounded difficult or not.
Hers is just average sounding.
In this regard, Jiangyu might know more than her, and he should be able to tell the good from the bad. The song was over. Su-won didn't even know what song she played. She looked quite cheerful. As soon as she finished, Murong-sheng was the first one to start applauding for her and was very supportive. Ye plays the piano very well. Hearing this, Guyu smiled sweetly at him and turned to look at Su-won. What do you think, Su-won? I didn't grasp the rhythm well, nor did I control the strength well. I didn't put too much weight where it should be heavy, and didn't put too much lightness where it should be light. The connection between several parts was rather hasty, and it sounded a bit awkward. I need to practice more. Before Su-won could comment, Jiangyu spoke first, looking like an expert and sounding very professional. This evaluation could be said to be very bad. It was too detailed, so much, so that Guyu felt a little embarrassed and her face turned pale for a moment. Thank you, Prince Jiang, for your advice. I will pay attention to it in the future. I have only been studying for less than a year, and there are indeed many areas that need improvement. Guyu seemed to accept it humbly, but in fact she was defending herself, saying that she had only studied for a short time, so it was normal that she didn't grasp it well. Murong-sheng also came to her rescue. You've worked very hard. It's great that you can play like this in less than a year. That's right, other people's opinions are actually not important to her, as long as Murong-sheng feels good about it. It seems that Prince Jiang is very proficient in music. I wonder if this prince has the honor to cleanse his ears? Murong-sheng in turn tactfully instigated Jiangyu. Jiangyu raised his eyebrows when he heard that and looked at his little girl. Su-won was not in a good mood tonight, and she must be bored here, so she might as well find something to do. So Jiangyu followed Murong-sheng's wishes. He leaned forward slightly and asked Su-won, "Would you like to play the piano?" Hearing this, Su-won looked at him blankly and replied, "But I can't." How could she play the piano? She couldn't even keep the 5 notes in tune. "How about I teach you later? I'll play a song with you tonight?" Jiangyu guided her patiently and gently. Su-won thought this was possible, but she didn't expect Jiangyu was also good at playing the piano, which was not mentioned in the original book. Missed this opportunity and wanted to see it for herself. Moreover, if he said he was willing to teach her, then she would be willing to learn. It is always good to have many skills. The only worry is that she won't meet a good teacher. Okay, then I'll try it. Su-won nodded in response. Then I'd like to trouble His Royal Highness the 5th Prince to find a zheng for me. After Jiangyu and Su-won had reached an agreement, He asked Morong Sheng to get the zheng. Morong Sheng waved his hand, and soon a maid came with a guzheng and placed it in the center of the pavilion. Guyu was also very curious. How good was Prince Zhong's piano playing? Jiangyu took Suwon's hand and left the seat, then walked to the piano table and sat down. Suwon sat on the futon, and Jiangyu held her hand from behind and led her. Jiangyu first checked the strings, tried the tone, and then checked the surroundings to make sure that the strings didn't break in the middle of playing. If he accidentally hit his hand, it would be no joke. Since he was bringing her along, he was extra careful. Is average, and can only be said to be okay. Afterwards, he taught her how to position her hands. The two of them were very intimate, one teaching seriously, the other learning seriously, both acting as if they were oblivious to the people around them. Morong Sheng and Guyu also realized that this Prince Zhong was not indifferent and unapproachable by nature, but his gentleness and patience were unique to people. Are you ready? Shall we start? Jiangyu held her hands and whispered in her ears. At this moment, Suwon was completely wrapped in his arms. The unique fragrance of his body wrapped her tightly. Leaning on his chest, she seemed to be able to feel his strong heartbeat rhythmically. Suwon responded, and then the piano in his hand began to produce music. He asked her to relax and give her hand to him, and he started playing with her in a very familiar manner. Relax your fingers, don't be afraid. Feeling her fingers stiffen, he would comfort her softly. The song sounded very nice, gentle and melodious and progressive. It was not a particularly high-pitched tune, but was relatively steady from beginning to end, with relatively few climaxes. Forgive her for not being familiar with it, and she really didn't know the name of the song. The song was over. Suwon felt like it had passed in a flash, with her hand still held in his. The player was very steady throughout the whole song, and the listeners could also hear some of his skills. After all, he had to guide someone to play, and he could play to this level. It can be said that Jiangyu's skills require at least 10 years of practice. The song ended. Morong Sheng began to applaud, joking as he did so. What a great song of Phoenix seeking the Phoenix. Prince Zhong is so elegant. He praised like this verbally, and he was really convinced in his heart. He really could do it. He could even flirt with girls just by playing the piano. Feng Qiu Huang is a song played by a man to express his love to a woman. This piece of music is not easy to master. In the early stage, it sounds plain, but when you play it in the later stage, you'll find how complicated it is and how much it tests your technique. So this is the legendary Feng Qiu Huang. I finally heard it with my own ears today. It's wonderful. Guyu followed suit and applauded. It took Suwon a long time to figure out that the song was called Feng Qiu Huang. She tilted her head back slightly and looked at Jiangyu with a questioning look. The two of them were already close to each other, and their gazes were like a pulled silk thread, and their eyes were unclear to each other. Do you like it? Jiangyu looked at her and asked. I like it. Suwon decided that the first piece of music he should learn when learning the guzheng should be this one, Feng Qiu Huang. Do you want to learn? Do you want to learn? Jiangyu asked again. As long as she wanted, he would teach her well and spend more time with her alone. You have to learn. You have to learn. Of course, Suwon wanted to learn. She wanted to learn something. So when she felt sleepy, someone handed her a pillow. Then let us go to the zither shop tomorrow to pick out a good zither for you to practice with. When you have mastered the skill, I will give you my Feng Qiuwang zither. Jiangyu hadn't even started teaching yet, but he had already started planning for the future. He didn't even know if Suwon was the right material. It turns out that Feng Qiu Huang is in the hands of Master Zhang.
No wonder, no wonder.
Morong Sheng suddenly became excited when he heard Jiangyu mention that his zither was called Feng Qiuwang. Brother Sheng, is there any connection between these two? Guyu asked. Jiangyu and Suwon's attention was also attracted, and they all looked towards him. Morong Sheng slowly explained, My mother, concubine Shu, is very good at playing the zither. She has spent a lot of manpower in recent years to secretly search for the whereabouts of Feng Qiu Huang, but to no avail. Unexpectedly, it was in the hands of Prince Zhang. The prince is not often in Kyoto, so it's no wonder that she couldn't find it. But if possible, this prince is willing to pay a high price if Prince Zhang is willing to part with it. No, Jiangyu refused without thinking. I haven't heard that he wants to give it to Suwon. He won't sell the flower no matter how high the price is. Morong-shung never thought that he would refuse so directly and without hesitation. For a moment, he didn't know how to respond. The phoenix is only given to the one that one loves. I'm sorry that I can't fulfill the fifth prince's wish. Jongyu said to him apologetically. It's okay. It's because my mother is not destined to be with the phoenix. We can't force it. It's really enviable that Prince Jiang is so infatuated with Miss Su. The other party doesn't want to sell it. Morong-shung can't force him to do it. Besides, Jongyu's identity is there. He is not an ordinary citizen, so he still has to give him face. The name Feng Qiuwang sounds very high-end and classy, so this guzheng sounds like it should be an antique. Jiangyu just gave it to her, if he said so. After finishing, Jiangyu took her hand and returned to the seat. At this time, a maid brought a dish of hot milk and prepared to put it in front of Suwon, but she accidentally knocked it over and the milk spilled all over her. Suwon was caught off guard, and her skirt was soaked. The hot milk was scalding hot and sticky when poured on her body, making her feel very uncomfortable. Please forgive me, Miss Su.
I didn't mean to do that.
The maid immediately knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. Could Suwon still argue with a maid like her? That was impossible. In the end, he didn't say anything and let her leave. Jiangyu hurriedly asked her if she was burned. Fortunately, the skirt was thick and it was not possible to get burned. Morong-shung also asked her if she was okay, and she shook her head to indicate that she was fine. Guyu couldn't just stand there and watch, so she offered to take her to change her clothes. I still have a few new dresses that I haven't worn yet. Come with me to exchange them for one. She specifically said that it was new and had never been worn. She must have thought that Suwon would not be happy to wear something she had worn. It was sticky and smelled of milk. Suwon felt extremely uncomfortable, so he got up and followed her. Before leaving, she said to Jongyu, I'm fine, I'll be back soon, don't worry. Jongyu smiled and nodded, then watched her and Guyu leave. The two of them walked one after the other on the path in the back garden, passing through several courtyards before arriving at Guyu's yard. She had several maids serving her in the courtyard, and there were several sweet-scented osmanthus trees planted in the courtyard. What puzzled her was that after being here for so long, she hadn't seen Chininghong. She was Guyu's favorite, so wasn't she her personal maid? Where was she? Guyu seemed to know what she was thinking and suddenly said, Inghong, I asked her to go back to Xiangzhou and spend some time with her family before coming back. She followed me to such a far place like Yenzhou, and I was afraid she would miss home. Then you are a very nice person, Suwon replied perfunctorily. Guyu didn't say anything else. She took her to her room and took out a brand new light purple dress embroidered with a butterfly flower from the closet. I don't know if you like it or not, just wear it for now. What could Suwon be picky about? It would be good enough if she could just change it. She wasn't picky. She took the dress and said thank you. She would leave money for the dress when she left. Then Guyu closed the door and went out. She changed herself inside before coming out. The two of them were about the same size, so their clothes fit them well. Guyu waited for her outside, and after she had changed, he took her back to the garden. On the way, the two were silent. Suwon thought that everything would be peaceful, but unexpectedly, halfway through the walk, Guyu suddenly stopped. The two were now on a long corridor with a pond next to them, where they could sit down and rest. I have something to tell you. Can we sit down and talk? Guyu asked in a very sincere tone. Suwon kept a distance from her and didn't quite understand what she wanted to say, but he could listen and see what was going on. So she sat down next to him. Go ahead. Seeing this, Guyu also sat down, but kept a distance from her so that there was still room for two more people in between. There is a row of lanterns hanging in the corridor, so the light is bright and not dim. I won't beat around the bush with you. I want you to help persuade Prince Jiang and ask him to consider helping His Royal Highness the Fifth Prince gain a firm foothold in the court. Of course, I won't let you help me for nothing. I will pay you for it. You can set any conditions. After the job is done, I will do my best to satisfy you with whatever you want, whether it's money or something else. Suwon knew this was the case. She was indeed a qualified female protagonist, planning everything for the male protagonist. Suwon couldn't help laughing and said deliberately, "Then I want to be a princess. Is that okay? If Brother Sheng holds great power in the future, it is not impossible." Guyu is really shameless. As long as the current emperor is still alive, he says that he will hold great power in the future. If someone with ulterior motives hears it, it will be a crime of treason. She is also made to be a princess. She looks so powerful. Maybe in the later period, Sheng gradually became stronger and really had this ability, but Suwon didn't care. "Why do you think that Prince Jiang will listen to me and help me if I ask him to?" Suwon asked Guyu. "Because I can see that he likes you very much and cares about you very much. He doesn't want you to suffer any grievances. I believe you have the ability to do this." Guyu is not blind. Jiang Yu just treated Suwon with great care and tenderness. If this is not love and care, then what is it? Haha, do you think we're just shopping on the street? Is it that simple that if I take a fancy to something, people will buy it for me? Besides, this is a matter of state affairs. I dare not make any rash comments. Suwon felt that when Guyu spoke, he only needed to talk a little, as if he didn't care about other people's lives. "I know, but Brother Sheng has great ambitions and is always concerned about the country and the people. He is talented and skilled in martial arts, but he is restrained by his mother's humble family background. No one in the court cares about him, the fifth prince. I just think that if he can get strong support, he will achieve something in the future, and everyone will see his talent. I am not asking you for help out of selfishness, but I believe he will be a good choice. Prince Jiang will not be wrong to choose him." Guyu became more and more excited as she spoke. Suwon was very calm. She said slowly, "But I can't help you with this. If the fifth prince is really as good as you say, then I believe that the pearl is just temporarily covered in dust. When it shines, you don't need to fight for it. There will be many righteous people willing to stand in his camp and support him. It's true that Prince Jiang likes me, but does he have to listen to me in everything? You think too much of him. If he changes his position just because of my one-sided words, then I look down on him. If the fifth prince is really capable, he will find a way to overcome all difficulties and climb up and let everyone see his ability. Then I won't need to say anything, and everything you want will come to you. But you are betting on a woman like me. Aren't you betting on the wrong place?" After hearing what she said, Guyu couldn't find any words to refute for a moment. She trembled with her lips and finally hesitated. Suwon looked at her expression with amusement. She said all this while the fifth prince himself might not know it. She was really concerned and confused. The main reason was that Jiang Yu was too unfamiliar and couldn't get close to him at all, so she could only start with Suwon. But now it seems that she was a little too anxious. "I was desperate and tried all kinds of treatments. Don't take it to heart. I hope you can just pretend that this never happened and that I never said anything. I know there was a misunderstanding between us before, and it's normal that you don't want to help me, so I sincerely apologize to you today. I always thought you were lucky before. Even if your identity was swapped when you were young, you could still enjoy wealth and glory. Although you were swapped back later, it didn't take long for you to become the daughter of a rich family again, still decent, just like now. It's a pity that everything is determined by fate. You are smarter and prettier than me, I admit that, but I don't want us to become enemies in the future." Guyu stood up and bowed slightly to her as an apology, and also used some emotional words. She also knew that there was no hope of asking Suwon to help speak for her.
Suwon frowned slightly.
This was getting more and more interesting the more he talked. She was really adaptable. For the sake of her lover, she had done something humble enough. One day, he would see her treat him like this. Is this the power of love? She said she doesn't want to be enemies, but does that mean she wants to be partners? That's right. She is now the favorite of the Prince of Jiangwa. Her eldest brother is the top scholar, and her third brother will be a general in the future. Although Guyu doesn't know it now, she will definitely find a way to win them over and make them help her and Sheng, so she said this. I want to put aside the past grudges and build a good relationship with myself. It is said that she is very flexible. The more you cared about her before, the more you need her now. Ms. Gu, we have come to this point today, so let me make it clear to you. I will not choose to be your enemy, but I think the relationship between us can only be that of ordinary people. I can live in peace with you under the same roof, but this does not mean that I am willing to be your friend or partner. Through the matter of the fourth brother, I have always had a thorn in my heart towards you. This thorn cannot be pulled out, and I don't want to pull it out. I can only say that we are really not the same kind of people. You think you are pitiful, but in fact you are not pitiful. On the day when the truth about our identities was revealed, your parents chose you without hesitation and firmly. Moreover, during the more than 10 years you have been in the Su family, my parents and 5 brothers have given you all their preference, and even after you left, they still miss you. It was your selfishness that made you push them away with your own hands, wasn't it? How can you be pitiful? On the contrary, you are very lucky. You have received the most love. Also, please don't do anything to use or hurt your brothers in the future. They are not stepping stones on your road to success. They are the people I care about most. Whoever dares to hurt them in the future, I will have a hard time with him. Let's make it clear today. We can stop being enemies, but we can't be sisters or partners either. No matter how far she can go in the future or how glorious she will be, it has nothing to do with her, and no matter how far she can go in the future, it has nothing to do with her either. It is best for both sides to live in peace. But she didn't want Guyu to use their old friendship to morally blackmail her brothers, making them do things for her and stepping on them to get to the top. Of course, if Morongsheng really has the ability to convince them with actions, then she has nothing to say and will express her support. For Guyu to become successful and powerful and not abandon her when she no longer needs him. Because of her unexpected arrival, the current plot has almost collapsed. In fact, what kind of reversal will happen next is not even under Su Wan's control. She can only roughly guess the direction. Guyu simply could not deny the fact of what she had done to her fourth brother. She selfishly chose to destroy her fourth brother's life in order to survive herself. This also represents her future stance. As long as someone blocks her way or threatens her, she will not hesitate to find someone to take the blame for her in order to achieve her goal. In the original novel, she is a very ambitious person. After knowing Morongsheng's identity, as well as his ideas and ambitions, she also developed an ambition and worked hard for it. 2 ambitious people get together. They are a good match. I admit that I was wrong about that matter, but I didn't do it on purpose. If you were in your situation at that time, would you not want to live? Guyu felt that Su Wan was talking without any concern. She herself had not reached that step. So why should he judge her? So fourth brother doesn't want to live? He deserves to die? In that situation, do you think you are the only one who wants to live? What you push and what he volunteers are 2 different concepts. Of course, I want to live too, but I will stay rational and know clearly that the person standing in front of me is my relative, not just a random passerby. Su Wan was a little angry. In fact, she has always been very Buddhist and rarely gets excited about something. But Guyu's way of turning the tables is really speechless. Forget it. I can't agree with you. I should have known it earlier. I still begged you so lowly. It's true that we can't be good sisters. Don't worry, since you said so, I won't beg you anymore. As for my brothers, I will find a way to make up for what I owe them. In my heart, they will always be my brothers. It won't change just because we are not a family now. And what you said about using and hurting them is too ugly. What did I do to use them? Guyu said with a stern face, somewhat angrily, and sat back heavily. I'm just reminding you. I didn't say you took advantage of it. If you have nothing else to do, then go. I'm not familiar with your house. It's cold sitting by the pool. Su Wan had already made it clear that the 2 of them would have to dislike each other for the rest of their lives. As for other things, they couldn't get along just because of the fight for her brother. Now she can understand why Guyu cares so much about who her brothers treat well. If she were in his shoes, she would also care because she has enjoyed those good things and would not be willing to give them up. However, she is her biological daughter, so she doesn't care. She has said before that her brothers can continue to be nice to Guyu, but they can't forget her. But now it's different. She still hopes that they will have less contact with Guyu, and it would be best if they don't get involved in the future and wade into the muddy water of fighting for the throne. This road is destined to be bloody, and she doesn't want anyone she cares about to get hurt. As for Jiangyu, if she really has to make a choice, she will support him, because his identity is there. He has been carrying a mission since birth, and sooner or later, he will have to make a choice. Guyu had no choice but to take Suwon back to the garden where they had been before. Jiangyu was still drinking with Morongsheng. He was forced to drink a lot of wine tonight, and they were all aged wines with a strong aftertaste. When Suwon came back, he was leaning lazily in the chair with his hand on his forehead, looking a little tipsy. Hearing the noise, he looked up in the direction where Suwon was walking. She had changed into a clean dress, but the embroidery on the dress was too fancy and not suitable for her, with all the flowers and butterflies. Suwon had just sat down when Jiangyu naturally held her hand, only to find that her hands were very cold. "Why are your hands so cold? Have you been gone for so long?" Suwon was gone for nearly half an hour, which was indeed a bit long. He had just been freezing by the pond for so long, so of course he was cold. "It's okay, I just talked to Miss Gu." Suwon didn't choose to hide it. Because she knew that Jiangyu would not be so gossipy as to ask everything, Jiangyu did not ask any more questions. Looking at the current time, he felt that it was time to go. So he stood up and said goodbye to Morongsheng. "Your Highness, thank you for your hospitality tonight, but it is getting late today, so I will not bother you any further. Prince Jiang, you are too polite. I will personally escort you out of the mansion." Morongsheng stood up to see him off. Jiangyu did not refuse, but held Suwon's hand throughout the whole process and never let go. Guyu had just been harshly rejected by Suwon and was also lectured by her. She was not in a good mood now, so she didn't say anything and just followed Morongsheng quietly. Suwon was still thinking that the clothes on her body belonged to Guyu, and she didn't want to take advantage of her. So she let go of Jiangyu's hand, moved to Guyu's side, patted her and whispered, "How much is this dress worth?" "I'll give it to you." Guyu rolled her eyes quietly when she heard that. She was not polite either. Since Suwon was unwilling to stand in the same camp with her, it would be better to settle every penny clearly so as not to let her get away with it. 100 taels. This is shoe embroidery, and the material is also shoe brocade. The two of them dawdled and fell behind. The two in front were still talking and didn't notice the little movements of the two women behind them. The material and embroidery method are indeed worth the price, but it's a pity that Suwon is reluctant to spend a large sum of money on a dress she doesn't like, but she also doesn't want to owe her anything. Don't think she can't see that the maid did it on purpose tonight. Her original clothes were not cheap either, worth more than 30 taels, so she couldn't suffer this loss in silence. He took out 50 taels of silver from his sleeve and stuffed it into her hand. "You did this tonight on purpose. Don't think I can't see it." 50 taels, take it or not. Guyu looked at the 50 taels of silver in her hand, clenching her back teeth tightly. She must have cursed at her in her heart with all the possible words. Suwon didn't care what she thought and caught up with Jiangyu. Morongsheng saw them off to the gate of the mansion and watched them get on the carriage. Jiangyu's carriage was still arranged the same as before, with a thick, soft blanket on the ground. As soon as Suwon got on, she found a comfortable place to lean on. Jiangyu then got in, and the carriage slowly drove on the bluestone road. "Come here." Jiangyu called out to Suwon opposite him and asked her to come over to his side. Suwon obediently moved over and sat down next to him. Jiangyu took her hands and wrapped them in his palms. The endless heat was transmitted to her hands, making them warm. She leaned her head on his shoulder, closed her eyes, and let him cover her hands. "If the fifth prince invites you to do anything again in the future, just come by yourself. I won't go. It's boring." Suwon felt that she should stay away from Guyu as their magnetic fields were not compatible. Ever since she said those words tonight, she suddenly felt that the heroine's character had collapsed. The male and female protagonists are different from the original. I don't know if it's because of her intrusion. I read a sentence before that once any person who travels into a book has a god's perspective, she becomes the protagonist of the book and all other characters become her supporting roles. A supporting role can only be a supporting role. It will not be too outstanding and will not be absolutely perfect. There will be a series of flaws and a collapsed image of the character. Just like Guyu now, her personality is very different from the character given in the original novel. In the original novel, she is ambitious, but has a positive outlook on life, is tolerant of everything, and is absolutely sincere to others. Now, those three views are obviously no longer acceptable. If this is really the case, then Suwon has truly turned the tables as the female supporting role. After that, she won't have to worry about her life anymore. Moreover, with all her dedication and hard work along the way, the general trend is now on her side. The balance is also leaning towards her. Moreover, she also has Jeongyu as her strong thigh, which is impossible to stop. But then again, only when you are in this world and experience it personally will you know that what you see and feel with your own eyes is the real person. Okay, I won't take you there anymore, and I'll try to go there less often. While Suwon was distracted, Jeongyu had already answered her question. Jeongyu now only holds the title of a prince, and he is not the one who makes the decisions in the Duke's mansion. Suwon leaned on his shoulder and could still smell the faint scent of alcohol on his breath. He closed his eyes, frowned slightly, and looked uncomfortable. Suwon guessed that he had a headache because he drank alcohol. Suwon's hand had been held by him for so long that it had gradually warmed up. She pulled her hand away and stopped leaning on him, but sat down in front of him. A pair of soft little hands covered his temples, pressing gently back and forth, relieving Jeongyu's headache. Soon as he opened his eyes, he saw Suwon's serious little face with a red little mouth, which looked very tempting. I'm not asking you to drink less. That wine is obviously aged liquor, and it has a strong aftertaste. This was also the first time Suwon saw him in a slightly tipsy state, and even the breath he exhaled was hot. A pair of large hands suddenly wrapped around her waist and pulled her into his arms. Suwon fell on him. Jeongyu freed one hand and touched her face, stroking her cheek gently with his thumb. Jeongyu looked at her and couldn't help but his Adam's apple rolling. He couldn't help but move closer to her. His hot breath sprayed on her face, with a slight smell of alcohol, which made Suwon's hair stand on end and her body tremble slightly. She closed her eyes, thinking he was going to kiss her. He did kiss her, but the kiss fell on the corner of her mouth, gently covering it and staying for just a few seconds. Jeongyu didn't dare to kiss her lips. He was really afraid that he wouldn't be able to stop once he started kissing her. He wanted to tear her apart and swallow her into his stomach. His lips left the corner of her mouth and pressed her against his chest, letting her listen to his chaotic heartbeat. Save it for now, and come back all at once later. Jeongyu rested his chin on her forehead and whispered softly, "Oh my God, what kind of lewd words is he saying?" Suwon's face turned red and her heart was beating fast, but she couldn't control the corners of her mouth. She is too young now. If Jeongyu could still hold her and kiss her wantonly, it would be too beastly. Therefore, his restraint is precisely his love and respect for her. Suwon fell asleep in his arms without realizing it. When the carriage arrived at the inn, the coachman knocked on the door outside, and she was startled awake in an instant. "Master, we are here." Suwon raised her head from his arms in confusion. Jeongyu asked, "Do you want me to hug you?" Suwon shook his head. "No need. My legs can't be used as decoration." She is quite a straight woman sometimes, and people just want to get as close to her as possible. They arrived at the door of the room, they said goodnight to each other, and went to sleep. The next day, Suwon had to supervise the invited craftsmen to decorate the shop. She also had to buy calligraphy and paintings, flowers, plants, and potted plants. Jeongyu accompanied her throughout the whole process, helping her pick and choose and bargain. Those calligraphy and paintings don't need to be expensive, as long as they look good. They are just decorations anyway. People who come to buy goat milk soap are here for the product. Who cares who painted the calligraphy and paintings? They had agreed the night before to go to a music store to choose a zither. Suwon had always remembered this, and when they passed by a music room, she pulled him in. "Didn't you say you would help me choose a piano last night? Go ahead, you're an expert." Fortunately, she still remembered it. Jeongyu thought she didn't remember it. Around the area where the zither were placed, tried the tone of each one, looked at the workmanship, the wood used, and the strings, but none of them were pleasing to my eye. He finally said directly to his boss, "Bring me the best zither you have." The shopkeeper saw that he was a professional and knew that he had money, so he happily went to get it. Several were brought out one after another for him to review. "This is a treasured item from our store. Please take a good look at it. You will definitely find something that satisfies you. These zither are indeed better than those displayed outside, whether it is the workmanship, the patterns on them, or the selected wood and strings. They are all of top quality, and the tone is obviously more delicate and pleasant." Finally, Jiangyu chose one and asked Su-won to take a look. "Is this okay? Do you like it?" Su-won didn't understand either, but he was sure that the one he chose was a good one. Moreover, the patterns on both ends of the zither were particularly delicate, and the carved plum blossoms were lifelike. "As long as you are satisfied, teacher, I am fine with it," Su-won said happily. Jiangyu was amused by her, and then he asked the boss to pack up the zither and take it away. "You have a good eye, my dear guest. This zither is made of red rosewood and Albergia cochinchinensis. The carvings on it are by the descendants of a century-old wood-carving family. You just tried the tone, and it is absolutely impeccable." The boss made a big deal, and he was praised so much that his eyes were narrowed into slits due to smiling. "How much silver?"
Su-won asked.
"It sounds like it should be expensive." "My dear guest, this zither is worth 500 taels of silver, and it also has a very elegant name, Rugu. As it is indeed elegant. We do not pursue the profound meaning of the name, but only pursue its usability. However, the zither she uses for daily practice shouldn't be so expensive, right? Jiangyu, I'm just a beginner. I don't need such a good piano to practice, right?" Su-won was really afraid that he would not live up to the value of this zither. A good zither must have excellent tone and touch. Even if you are a beginner, you should choose a good one, if you have the conditions. This is Jiangyu's attitude towards Zheng. It has nothing to do with whether it is expensive or not. It is Su-won who is superficial. "Okay, whatever you think is good." Su-won could only follow his wishes. As an apprentice, she just let her teacher make the decision. So she started to pay, but Jiangyu got there first. "There's no reason for you to pay the bill." Just a simple sentence, full of domineering flavor. Never mind, Jiangyu is the future heir of Fengyue Villa. Fengyue Villa is built on mountains of gold and silver. 500 taels is just a drop in the bucket for him. Moreover, the Fengyue Wang in his hand is truly a priceless item, an antique. He planned to give it to Su-won once she became proficient in playing the zheng. Finally, Su-won left contentedly holding her zither. This zheng is different from the guqin. It has 21 strings and is larger in size. Learning it also tests one's reaction speed and finger flexibility. Jiangyu was afraid that she couldn't hold the baby, so he tried to help her, but the girl was so stubborn that she refused to let anyone help her. Su-won just felt that this was a very meaningful gift from Jiangyu to her, and she had to take it seriously. Moreover, she had an inexplicable sense of accomplishment holding the zither. After all, she would be an artist in the future. That kind of joy is like the feeling of finally entering junior high school and then owning your first mobile phone in your life. After returning home, she began to think about the zither and asked Jiangyu to teach her the song, Feng Qiu Huang, from last night first. However, you have to take it step by step and learn the basics first. Only when you have mastered the basic elements can you talk about learning the song. Basic knowledge of learning zheng includes correct sitting posture, hand shape, fingering, music theory, musical sense, ability to listen and distinguish sounds, coordination between left and right hands, etc. These alone are enough for her to remember. Jiangyu taught them everything personally, and both of them were immersed in it and never tired of it. Yu Yuzi successfully extended the time they spent alone together, and Su-won was immersed in this learning atmosphere. With the person you love, the days always pass quickly and comfortably. From time to time, Murong Sheng would invite Jiangyu to watch operas, play chess, and practice martial arts. Jiangyu would go sometimes, but sometimes he would find reasons to turn it down. He would usually go at night because during the day, Su-won not only had to practice the piano, but also had to meet many sisters who came to apply for the position of female shopkeeper. He had to carefully compare and patiently screen them, so he had to accompany them. He really didn't take Suwon with him anymore. Every time he went out, he would come back in an hour and a half at most. When Morong Sheng asked about Suwon, he just said that she was busy with business and couldn't get away. Suwon finally chose a sister named Xu Yao as the female manager of the Yenzhou Yuantang branch. Xu Yao was 26 years old and had worked as a shopkeeper in a silver jewelry shop in Yenzhou City. However, due to some conflicts between her and the owner of the shop, she left after the contract expired. She had also worked in the silver jewelry shop for 5 years and had sufficient management experience. She was proficient in accounting and arithmetic, had a good eloquence, and her voice was very gentle, which made people feel happy when they heard it. She was very satisfied with the series of conditions and benefits offered by Suwon, so she sincerely wanted to work for her. Suwon also asked Liu Yun to investigate her husband's family. They were a very harmonious family, with kind parents-in-law. They had a good reputation among neighbors. She also had a good relationship with her husband. She had 2 sons. Her husband was a scholar and worked as a teacher in an enlightenment school in Yenzhou, teaching children of enlightenment age. Suwon always believed that people who came from a harmonious family would definitely be emotionally stable, and Sister Xu Yao was very suitable in terms of both personality and experience. We still chose the nearest opening date, shipped the goods over from Xiangzhou, filled the shelves, and stocked the warehouse with enough inventory before we could open for business. In Suzhou has become popular in just 1 month. The stock is almost sold out, so we have to arrange delivery. My uncle has also opened 3 new workshops in Xiangzhou, and the staff and raw material supply are in place. Yuantang has become the largest supplier of several flower farms outside Xiangzhou City. Their flowers have no worries about sales, and any new varieties will be sent to Yuantang. Furthermore, the flower farmers, they're already planning to expand their fields next year. There is also almond oil. Because Xiangzhou has a great demand for almond oil, 80% of the almonds picked in Hejiazhuang this year were used to make oil and sent to Xiangzhou in large quantities. My uncle is worried that they will not be able to supply it in the future, so he has started looking for other sources of almond oil. In fact, you don't have to use almond oil to make goat milk soap. Corn oil and peanut oil can also be used, but these are second-best options. If all else fails, there is still lard. Are actually the best oils for making soap, but these 2 oils could not meet the needs in ancient times because no one had mastered the technology and she didn't know how to make them. Of Yenzhou Yuan Hall was scheduled for December 5th, and Suwon gave her full authority to handle the opening matters. When Suwon finishes attending the opening ceremony, she will leave Yenzhou. After returning to Xiangzhou, she will also set up a team dedicated to the distribution of goods. The staff is composed entirely of young and strong men, and she wants to recruit those who know martial arts. As long as you offer a high enough commission, those martial artists will be happy to work for you. The main job of this team is to escort goat milk soap back and forth between various states to ensure that the goods are absolutely safe and free of accidents during the journey. Just like an escort team, Suwon supported them, provided them with food and drink, and gave them commissions. They delivered goods for her. Over time, she would be able to train a group of people who could be used by her. All of them adopt the contract signing model, and once signed, the minimum term is 5 years. After 5 years, you can leave if you want to or stay if you want to, as long as you have no second thoughts. Suzhou and the signboard was hung up. Suwon asked Xu Yao to write a lot of flyers and then find people to publicize them in the city. The purpose was to create momentum on the opening day. Even if there are people who don't understand, seeing how lively it is here, 8 out of 10 will come to join in the fun, and as they gather together, some will follow suit. Suwon was so busy in the days before the opening that she had no time to practice the guzheng, and Jiang Yu also received a letter from Zhongzhou. After reading the letter, Jiang Yu was silent in the room for a long time. When Suwon came back, she found that something was wrong with him. A person was sitting by the window in a daze, his brows furrowed, exuding a low mood, and his back looked a little lonely. Suwon could feel that he was in a very low mood just by standing at the door, so he asked a guard to come over and question him. "Your young master seems to be in a bad mood. Did something happen?" The guards also had worried looks on their faces. It should be said that all of Jiangyu's guards had worried looks on their faces today. Seeing that Suwon had specifically asked, they did not choose to hide it and said whatever they knew. It's because a letter just came from Zhongzhou that the young master is like this. We don't know the details, but I guess something happened in Zhongzhou. Miss, you should go and ask in person. I believe the young master is willing to tell you. The guards felt that at this time, probably only Suwon could get close to him. They had followed Jiangyu for so long, so of course they could observe the young master's emotions. The more silent he was, the more serious the matter was. Suwon looked upstairs, turned around, and went upstairs in 2 steps. She came to the door and shouted, "Jiangyu, I'm back." Normally, he should have felt it when she stood at the door before, but this time he didn't react at all. Hearing her voice, Jiangyu turned around immediately, only to see that her eyes were red and bloodshot. He stood up and strode towards her, pulling her into the room. "Wanwan, I have something to ask of you." Jiangyu's words. Suwon had never seen Jiangyu like this. How big a problem could it be that made him even use the word beg? "What's the matter? Tell me. I'll face it with you." Suwon gave him a reassuring smile with sincere eyes. Jiangyu put his hand on her shoulder and said to her seriously, "Can you accompany me to Zhongzhou right away? My grandfather is seriously ill." A letter from Zhongzhou said that the disease is so severe that even Dr. Sun is helpless. He wants me to go back to see him for the last time. In fact, my grandfather has not been in good health in recent years. His only wish is to see me get married and have my own destination, so I want to take you to see him, Wanwan, do you understand? Jiangyu is really anxious, like a helpless child. Jiangyu's grandfather is the person closest to him, closer than his father. He was almost raised by his grandfather, who taught him skills and education personally. His grandfather means a lot to Jiangyu. Jiangyu's grandfather was in very good health in his early years. In the past few years, for some reason, his health has been deteriorating, and his mental and physical strength are not as good as before. The specific cause of the disease cannot be found, and he relies on Dr. Sun to take care of him. Now Jiangyu is gradually taking over Fengyue Villa and neutralizing forces everywhere. Before he left, his grandfather looked in good spirits, and even Dr. Sun said that he was temporarily stable. But now he is suddenly seriously ill, and there is no way he can be saved? There is definitely a conspiracy here, but there is no evidence. So after Jiangyu received the letter, he suppressed the sadness and anger surging in his heart and forced himself to calm down and not lose his composure. He thought about how his grandfather had asked him with a smile when he left Fengyue Villa a few months ago if he had a girl he liked and asked him to bring her to him as soon as possible. He joked that if he could see his grandson's wife before he died and recognize her face, he would be blessed with her when he was buried. Not long after Jiangyu read the letter, she came back. Now she has given orders to prepare the carriages and horses and gather the men so that they can set off at any time. When Suwon heard the news, she was a little caught off guard, but she agreed without any hesitation. "Okay, I'll go with you to see grandfather. Don't worry, we'll leave right away. I'll ask Luyan to say hello to Sister Shuyao." Suwon stroked his brow to reassure him, then turned around and called Luyan and Luying. She instructed Luyan to inform Shuyao that she was leaving, and asked Luying to pack up quickly and prepare to go to Zhongzhou. Jiang felt warmed when he saw Suwon agreed so quickly. Standing blankly at the door, his hands hanging limply, he closed his eyes and took a deep breath, and when he opened his eyes again, they were filled with murderous intent and hostility. Yu Wushang, this matter should be related to him. Now that things have come to this, it is time to settle some grudges. He has been running Fengyue Villa for many years, and many elders support him, so he is so unscrupulous. If what happened to my grandfather was really planned by him, then the journey back to Zhongzhou would definitely be full of dangers. Afterwards, he will face one bloody storm after another. He is very sorry that he had to drag Suwon into it. He feels guilty and conflicted. On one side is his lover, and on the other side is his relative. One does not want her to be hurt, and the other does not want him to have any regrets. He has no choice but to protect her with his life. Luying packed all the luggage as quickly as possible and moved them onto the carriage loaded with supplies. Luyan also worked quickly and came back quickly. In less than half an hour, everything was ready, and they were ready to set off. Suwon seemed more anxious than Jongyu. He pulled him downstairs, fearing that he would be too late to see Jongyu's grandfather. At this moment, she was filled with admiration, worry, and anticipation. She really wanted to see what the ruthless man in the original novel who founded Fonghua Villa on his own looked like. Is he serious, tall, and full of beard? Or is he smart, gentle, and has a sage-like temperament? Or is he cold, sharp, and never smiles? But the original novel says that Jongyu is most like Jeongjeon, the leader of Fonghua Villa, not in terms of appearance, but only in terms of his behavior. Jongyu's grandfather probably possesses all these qualities. Everything had been prepared in the carriage, including food, drinks, and daily necessities. In case Suwon was bored, there was a stack of storybooks on the small coffee table, all of which contained different melodramatic folk stories. When it comes to details, Jongyu can be said to be meticulous. Leaving the city, there were 2 carriages with 8 guards on both sides. After leaving the city gate, I found that there were about 30 people waiting outside the city. All of them were guards on horseback with swords. There was also a baggage cart specially used to carry horse feed. All of this was prepared in just 2 hours after receiving the letter. Jongyu was probably silent along the way because of his grandfather's matter. He didn't say a word, with his brows lowered, and no one knew what he was thinking. Suwon can empathize with him, but she should not say too much to disturb him now. He has a lot of things to think about right now, so it is better to wait until he is alone before talking. After leaving the city and getting on the official road, the carriage began to speed up. Won, the road will be a bit rushed and bumpy. I'm sorry to have troubled you. If you feel uncomfortable, remember to tell me. We can stop and rest at any time. Because he was in a hurry to go back to see his grandfather, Jongyu had no choice but to let her suffer with him temporarily.
I'm fine.
How can I be so fragile? Let's go back to see your grandfather first. Suwon is not that pretentious. Business is important, and one must know the priorities. Seeing that she was so sensible, Jongyu reached out and gently pinched her cheek. Thank you, Won. Thank you for your understanding. What's there to thank for? You should be more open-minded and stop being so anxious. He always takes good care of his emotions, which is good enough. Suwon moved closer to him and sat down next to him. The 2 of them were walking in opposite directions, each taking care of the other's emotions. All she could do now was to accompany him quietly.
Jongyu didn't have much time to be sad.
Soon he took out a topographic map and started studying it. He looked at it for a long time, frowning as he thought about something. Finally, he opened the car window and told the guards outside, "Go around the strange rock forest and go to Yufeng Mountain. Send a pigeon to Fengying and ask him to meet up at Yufeng Mountain. Bring more people with him." "Yes, young master." The guard received the order and went to prepare. Now that the old sect leader is seriously ill, he has not personally announced Jongyu as the next sect leader of Fonghua Villa. This is the last chance for Yu Shang to take the position. If the old sect leader is dragged to death, he will be the only son in name and should be the first heir. In addition, he has many supporters in Fonghua Villa. As long as Jongyu is stopped, he will be the new sect leader for sure. It would be best if Jongyu died immediately, then there would be no threat at all. Even if Duke Jiang comes to settle the score later, he will definitely not choose to destroy Fonghua Villa for the sake of his deceased wife. This is the hard work of his father-in-law, and Fonghua Villa has been in the martial arts world for so many years that its power is complicated and cannot be destroyed casually. As long as he becomes the sect leader, he will have the capital to confront Duke Jiang. At most, he will have one more enemy. Besides, there is no evidence. Who can prove that he killed Jongyu? Even if you want to fight, you have to find a legitimate reason. What a great strategy! Suwon knew that Jongyu was brainstorming and avoiding his opponent's ambushes. The original novel did not mention anything about Jongyu in Fonghua Villa. He appeared only a few times, and when he appeared in the middle and late stages, he was already the master of Fonghua Villa. So, she didn't know what to remind him to be wary of, and Jongyu completely blocked her god's perspective. Won, there will be many obstacles and dangers ahead. Are you afraid? Jongyu put his arm around her shoulders and let her lean on him. He had to tell her in advance so that she could be prepared. Who wants to harm you?
Suwon asked.
He's my uncle. Jongyu was ready to tell her about his situation in Fonghua Villa and did not intend to hide it. Why did your uncle want to harm you? After hearing this, Suwon couldn't help but look up at him in surprise. He is not my biological son. He was adopted by my grandfather. When he was found, there was a note with the word "Yu" written on it in his arms. So my grandfather named him Yu Wushang and brought him back to the Fonghua Villa founded by my grandfather. He taught him martial arts and raised him. I don't know why my uncle hates me so much. My grandpa said that he and my mother had a very good relationship when they were young, and so did Uncle He, your third brother's master. The three of them grew up together, but I don't know why, but since I have been with my grandpa, my uncle has been very nice to me in front of others, but later I found out that he often did things behind my back to try to kill me. I once asked him why, but he didn't admit it and still looked so kind that sometimes I couldn't tell if I was wrong. Until last year, I was chased to Yangooo and almost lost my life. Fortunately, you and my second brother saved me.
I was not destined to die.
After returning, I carefully investigated and finally confirmed that the mastermind behind the scene was him, my uncle who is not related to me by blood. He wants to compete with you for the inheritance of Fonghua Villa, right?
Suwon felt sad.
Jongyu always had to face a smiling tiger. Under the mask of kindness was a beast that wanted him dead all the time. If he didn't do all this for power, then what was he doing it for? Yes, my grandfather was in good health a few years ago, but he suddenly became weak and deteriorated. Dr. Sun couldn't find the cause of the disease. He suspected it was poison, but he didn't know what the poison was. He could only use medicine to help him recover. I searched every corner around my grandfather, from the people who served him to the meals he ate, and checked everything, but still couldn't find any clues. Originally, before I went to Xiangzhou, my grandfather's illness was under control, so I left with peace of mind. But in the end, Jiangyu didn't say anything else. Later she found out that he had suddenly fallen ill, and there was no way he could be saved. Do you suspect that it was your uncle who has no blood relationship with you who did this? But he didn't even let go of his father who raised him? Suwon frowned, unable to understand. Although she and Mrs. Gu and Mr. Gu had raised each other, she knew that no matter how bad the fight between her and Guyu got, she would not have any bad intentions towards them. This was a respect for the original owner. I just can't understand it, so I've been troubled by why this happened. Or maybe I did something wrong and offended him, but the only thing I can be sure of now is that he and I are absolute enemies. If he really killed my grandfather, I will definitely not let him go easily. As Jiangyu spoke, his brows sank, emitting a sharp and bright look. He would never be merciful. At that time, all new and old grudges will be settled together. He almost got him killed last year. If it weren't for his good luck, I'm afraid this secret would have remained unknown for his entire life. Suwon didn't know what to say to comfort him. She didn't know the whole situation and didn't want to comment. Besides, this was a grudge between Jiangyu and his cheap uncle, which had to be resolved. It was obviously meaningless for her to say too many high-sounding words. But she could hug him. So, Suwon put her arms around his neck, hugged him like he usually hugged her, and let her lean on his shoulder. It's okay. You still have me. I will accompany you. She gently stroked the black hair on his back. Jiang Yuhui hugged her waist tightly and rubbed her shoulders like a little child. Thank you, Wanwan, he murmured again. Suwon didn't reply to him, but just hugged him quietly, comforting him silently. The carriage was moving very fast. When it was on the official road, it would sometimes hit some stones, causing the carriage to shake violently. However, Suwon felt very stable with her head resting on Jiangyu's legs. He took a pillow and placed it across his legs, then let her lean against it. The fastest journey to Zhongzhou would take at least 7 or 8 days. The first few days were spent in a carriage, but we would stop to rest every morning, noon, and evening. Then Suwon could get off the car and rest for a while. Luyun prepared hot water for her, and then made a barrier with black cloth, with a charcoal fire burning next to it to keep her warm. She took the opportunity to wash her body and change her clothes. At this time, Zhang Yu and the guards will avoid it, but they will not go far. They will be very careful about the movements nearby to prevent sneak attacks. There will be no danger in the first half of the journey, but as we go further, the killers arranged by Yu Wushang will come to intercept us. He must have arranged more than one wave of killers, definitely several waves, setting up ambushes on several roads that Jiang Yu must pass through to ensure that nothing goes wrong. But Jiang Yu bypassed the water route and the road through the strange rock forest. On the one hand, if he encountered an ambush on the water, it would easily become a dead end if he didn't handle it properly. The terrain of the strange stone forest is just as its name suggests, made up of all kinds of strange stone mountains. If Yu Wushang set an ambush there, he only needs to create a rocky scene and his team may be destroyed by the rolling boulders. Moreover, he brought Su Wan with him this time, so he couldn't possibly put her in such a passive danger. Therefore, the only way to avoid being passive in the jungle is to take the Yufeng mountain route. Once there is an unpredictable situation, there is still a possibility of retreat, and you can hide yourself to buy time. You only need to cross Yufeng mountain, then drive for a distance, and finally take the water route to ensure that nothing goes wrong. On the fourth night, Su Wan returned to the carriage after cleaning as usual. Lu Yun and Lu Ying stayed with her all the time. Were guarding not far away had already encountered the first wave of assassinations. Gurgling water, there was also the sound of swords clashing and flesh being pierced. Following Jiang Yu's orders, several secret guards retreated to Su Wan's side and protected the carriage. In this situation, Jiang Yu couldn't lead people over here because the other party's target was him, and following him would be the most dangerous. The best way for him to protect Su Wan was to get rid of the person as much as possible and then return to her. Su Wan was hiding in the carriage, lying down, listening to the noise outside. She couldn't help but shouting to Lu Yun outside to inquire about the situation, because she was very worried about Jiang Yu's safety, afraid that he was injured or something. If it was just a superficial injury, it would be fine, but she was afraid that it would be as troublesome as when she found him in the land temple, and there was no doctor around. "Girl, what's wrong with you?" Lu Yun asked anxiously outside the carriage, thinking something had happened to her.
"I'm fine."
"Where's Jiang Yu?"
"How is he?"
Su Wan asked her inside. "Don't worry, young lady. There aren't that many assassins here. The young master should be able to handle them. Just hide well and rest assured." The one who answered her was not Lu Yun, but one of Jiang Yu's guards. Hearing him say that, I felt a little relieved. Sure enough, not long after, the sound of fighting stopped. Jiang Yu walked out of the darkness, with a sword in his hand. Blood kept dripping from the tip of the sword. He was wearing a black cloak. He had been wearing black these days, which made it convenient for him to walk in the dark and to confuse the opponent's eyes when he encountered a fight. His cloak was torn, so he reached out and tore it off, throwing it into the fire, then threw the bloody sword to his men to deal with. This was the scene Su Wan saw when she opened the carriage door. Knowing that she was safe, she jumped off the carriage and ran towards Jiang Yu. When Shiren was to pull him over to check if he was injured, but he stopped her when she was still a few steps away. "Don't come over here, I'm dirty." Jiang Yu smiled at her. He had just killed someone and there was a lot of blood on his body. The smell of blood was strong, and he didn't want Su Wan to be contaminated by it. Su Wan understood, so she stood there obediently, only to hear him say, "Don't worry, I'm not hurt. You're not injured." If you're not injured, Su Wan will feel relieved. After the fight, the guards began to treat each other's injuries. There were no casualties, and they only suffered minor skin injuries. Although these killers are well trained, they are not very strong. This is also the first fight in several days, and everyone is in the best condition so they can easily deal with these guys. But if they come more often in the future, it will be bad to drain their spirit and energy little by little. By that time, more and more people will be injured, and they will be unable to cope. Fortunately, Jiang Yu's men were all trained by the sect master himself. They are all masters among masters in martial arts. Unlike those scoundrels in the martial arts world, they are all top-notch. A few people were injured accidentally, but they were only minor injuries, they were accidentally cut, and the wounds were not deep. In addition, with the top-quality medicine prepared by Dr. Sun, the bleeding stopped quickly and recovery was fast. Now, we have to wait for Feng to bring his men to Yufeng Mountain for support. Otherwise, if such assassinations happen too often, we will find it hard to withstand them. After the guards finished bandaging the bodies, they began to clean up the battlefield on their own. They did not let Su-wan see the bodies of the killers, but when Su-wan thought about the many people who had died around him, he still felt a little numb on his back, so he simply ran back to the carriage. Luing brought her some freshly caught beggar's chicken and asked her to eat it while it was hot, but she had no appetite and couldn't eat anything. She felt nauseous. She was born in the 21st century. Normally, she would find it horrifying to think about someone's death in the news. Moreover, it was now. She needed time to accept it. Jiang Yu washed himself clean, changed into clean clothes, and washed his hair. He made sure that there was no odor on his body before returning to the carriage. We didn't dare to delay, so we ate something to fill our stomachs and then started on the road in the dark. From Zhongzhou, written by Jiang Yunhe. He told Jiang Yu not to worry and to put his own safety first. The sect leader has Dr. Sun on his side, and he will do his best to stabilize his condition. Whether it's acupuncture, medicinal bath, or even using 1,000-year-old ginseng to hang on, it can last for a while. However, the old man's mind is no longer clear, and he has been relying on his own willpower to persevere. He wants to personally hand over Fengyue Villa to Jiang Yu before he dies. But Jiang Yu was still anxious. Although he didn't show it on his face, Su-wan knew it clearly. He hardly slept these days, and he kept looking at the map to ensure the smoothest and safest route, minimizing the danger as much as possible. Jiang Yu's hair stood up before it was completely dry. The weather in December was very cold, and white air could be seen coming out of his breath when he spoke. The first thing he did when he came up was to pull her into his arms and hug her tightly. "Did that scare you?" Su-wan shook her head in his arms and replied, "Don't be afraid. They were the ones who wanted to kill you first. You are acting in self-defense." She said this while also convincing herself. "Listen to me. From now on, no matter what happens, as long as the situation is not right and you encounter danger, don't worry about anything else. Just run forward and protect yourself. I'm sorry to drag you into this storm, but don't worry. I will leave you a way out even if I die." Jiang Yu spoke. He silently hugged her tighter. His tone was gentle and sincere, and he really felt guilty. Sometimes he wondered if it was really right for him to put his beloved in danger in order to fulfill his grandfather's wish. He set off. He had already instructed his subordinates that if they encountered an irreversible situation, all they had to do was to protect Su-wan's retreat at all costs and not to worry about him. Yu Wushang's target is him. As long as he leaves enough time, he can ensure that Su-wan leaves safely. He has grown up so much and has so many concerns when doing things for the first time. In the past, if he encountered such a situation, he would be absolutely calm and fearless. So, people really cannot have weaknesses. Once they have weaknesses, they will be like him now, with too many things to worry about. But if it was Su-wan, he would not regret it and even feel honored for it, thanking God for sending her to him. He thought he would never have any weaknesses in his life. When Su-wan heard him say this, she actually didn't know how to answer. She thought if it really came to that, she would most likely choose to run away. She was not absolutely love-brained because she always remembered that she still had her parents and brother waiting for her to come home. If she had an accident, how big a blow would it be to them? Is this selfish? Maybe. She was also very sorry that she couldn't give up everything to die with him. Family and loved ones were important, and she was now willing to take a chance with him. "I believe in you, and you should believe in yourself, too. We will definitely be able to see your grandfather safely." Jiang Yu hummed softly in response. In the second half of the night, Su-wan fell asleep. When she opened her eyes again, it was dawn. They were already on the empty official road, surrounded by mountains. After another day and a half of walking, they would reach Yufeng Mountain. I don't know how Fengyue is doing and whether he encountered an ambush on the road. They encountered several more assassination attempts, but they were not large-scale. Roadblocks were set up in some places, and huge rocks blocked the middle of the road, so they had to take a long detour. But fortunately, everything was resolved perfectly. Jiang Yu did not suffer much loss, and Su-wan was also well protected. But he understood that the real battle was not far away. It would only take 2 more days of water travel to cross Yufeng Mountain. The shipping of Fengyue Villa was on Mo River, and now his people had infiltrated it. As long as we meet up with the shipping team, we will be safe and can then go directly to Fengyue Villa. Yufeng Mountain will be Yu Wushang's last line of defense, and he will arrange a large number of assassins to ambush. Along the way, there were stabbings openly, killings secretly, and many sneak attacks. If there were not several routes back to Fengyue Villa, Yu Wushang would have defended every route to ensure that nothing could go wrong, thus dispersing a lot of forces. If all the killers were gathered together, even the Lord would be unable to stop them. Along the way, Jiang Yu changed the route several times through his own layout plan and then made a surprise counterattack, avoiding many obstacles and reducing the damage to the lowest level. He did not leave the strange stone forest. Yu Wushang should have received the news, and his forces must be concentrated in the Yufeng Mountain area now. He has been planning for this day for too long, and Jiang Yu couldn't predict for sure how many assassins he had trained. In the evening of the next day, when they were almost at the foot of Yufeng Mountain, Jiang Yu gave orders to have a group of people take Su Wan on horseback and take a detour, bypassing Yufeng Mountain and going directly to Hengyan to wait for him. At this time, no one would notice her leaving. As long as Jiang Yu was still there and deliberately let them see clearly that he was still there, they would not care about the life and death of others. They just wanted him to die. Therefore, he was using himself as a target. He had to get Su Wan to her destination safely first to prevent her from getting into any accidents because of him. Otherwise, he would blame himself even in the underworld. When Su Wan saw him suddenly make this arrangement, he immediately understood his intention. He found her a nightgown and asked her to change into it so that she could hide from others and leave quietly. Su Wan pulled his sleeve, wanting him to go with her. "I can go first, but can you come with me? Can't we be more secretive and disguised better?" Su Wan is very sober and cherishes her life. She will not gamble with her life, but she also does not want to watch Jiang Yu go to danger. When she came here, she really did not think that this road would be so dangerous and difficult to walk. It was only after experiencing many assassination attempts that she realized that Jiang Yu had been facing these injuries since he was a child. "Yes, young master, I can put on your clothes and pretend to be you, and then you can quietly leave with Miss Su Lu." Jiang Yu's men thought the same. They were willing to die for him without any complaints. Yu Wushang is not a fool, and neither are his men. If I'm not here, they'll soon see through my plan. The best way is for them to take you away first, while I wait for Fengyang support. As long as he can provide support in time, I'll have at least a 60% chance of getting away unscathed. Jiang Yu had made up his mind. He put the Black Knight cloak on Su Wan and tied it up, then put the hat on her. "Don't worry. When I was born, my old man asked the National Master to calculate for me. I will not die young. I have a long life. So wait for me, okay?" The 5 guards, plus Lu Yun and Lu Ying, brought a total of 7 horses. When the time came, Su Wan would follow Lu Yun, and the others would protect her as she left. Jiang Yu was obviously trying to comfort her, so he said that. Su Wan had no idea whether what he was experiencing now was what he was also going to experience in the original novel, but with her intervention, things should have changed, so whether he could get away with it safely could not be judged based on the plot at all. Su Wan kept pulling at his clothes, wanting him to follow her, but he had made up his mind. He smiled gently at Su Wan and looked at the sky. He decided there was no time to delay any longer. He reached out and hugged her. "Be good. Go and wait for me first, okay? I will come to see you before tomorrow evening." He gave her a promise. Su Wan knew that she would only cause trouble here. It was not her style to pester him or make him desperate. She was an absolute sober person. "Okay, then I'll wait for you no matter how long it takes," she could give him. She was willing to wait for him forever, no matter what he would be like in the future. Even if he died, she could do it for him and not marry anyone else. Marriage would be a tragedy if the choice was not good anyway, but if it was that man Jiang Yu, she believed that she would be happy. Jiang Yu was glad that she was not a stubborn person, so he helped her onto the horse himself, and Lu Yun would be with her to provide close protection. Watching Su Wan go away, she looked back at him from time to time while sitting on her horse. At first, she could still see a smile on his face, but later, as he got farther away, even his shadow could not be clearly seen. The horses were running faster and faster, and the group was heading towards Mo River with all their might. It was Suwon's first time riding a horse, and the intensity was so high that after a while he felt his thighs were rubbed sore, and his buttocks were also sore. As for Jongyu, after Suwon's figure completely disappeared, the smile on his face instantly disappeared and was replaced by a solemn and murderous look. That is about to begin will inevitably be stained with blood. He wouldn't want her to witness him killing people. "Is there any news from Fengying?" he asked the guard beside him with a cold face. "Yes, they are on the way and will arrive tonight," the guard replied. "Go up the mountain after an hour." Jongyu already had a guess in his mind. It was already midnight when Suwon ran completely out of Yufeng Mountain. Luyan slowed down only after he was sure it was safe. Suwon's legs were burning with pain. Her skin was so delicate that she couldn't withstand this level of horse racing for 3 consecutive hours, which was equivalent to 6 hours. After the team stopped, they found an abandoned temple to spend the night and set out to meet up with the Mo River at daybreak. The main reason was that Suwon couldn't keep traveling at this intensity and had to stop and rest for a while. The guards first went into the temple to clean it, then spread clean sheets on the straw, took out some dry food, and lit a fire before letting her in to rest. In her heart, she had no appetite to eat or sleep. She sat on the haystack. Her whole body was cold from the wind, and her feet were frozen. It just started snowing outside, fluttering heavily. If nothing goes wrong, it will be white tomorrow morning. At this time, Yufeng Mountain was littered with corpses, and the smell of blood was everywhere. Jiangyu was left with only 6 guards, and each of them was seriously injured. Jiangyu himself also suffered several sword wounds, which were not serious and would not take his life, but they restricted him to some extent. Tonight, everyone was bloodshot, especially Jiangyu, whose eyes were bloodshot and full of red veins. Fortunately, he let Suwon go first. The other side has sent out hundreds of experts, and now they have the majority in terms of numbers, with about 20 of them. They had managed to hold off with great difficulty before, but in the end there were always killers coming from all directions to support them, and they were simply unable to defeat them all, and were forced to this point. As for Fengying, there was no sign of support coming for a long time, and no one knew if something went wrong on the way. At this time, another guard beside Jiangyu fell down because he was stabbed in the abdomen and fainted due to excessive blood loss. Only 5 people were left, and they were all remnants. Yu Wushang really spent a lot of money to kill him. They were surrounded, and Yu Wushang's men had surrounded them. It's been ordered from above that whoever gets Jiangyu's head will be rewarded with 1,000 taels of gold or 10,000 taels of silver. It all depends on your ability. Remaining killers already thought that they could succeed this time, and Jiangyu's head was already in their pockets. Jiangyu sneered and subconsciously tightened the sword in his hand. The look on Suwon's face when she left appeared in his mind. She said she would wait for him no matter how long it took, so he couldn't let her down and couldn't let her wait too long. Jiangyu has grown up to where he is today, and he knows all the hardships he has gone through. He knows what he has experienced and what he has paid for. He has come this far with his real abilities. No matter where he is, there are always conspiracies around him. In Fengyue Villa think he is an eyesore, and some people in Kyoto think he is taking up space. There are only a few people around him who are truly kind to him. "Brothers, I'm sorry to make you suffer with me." Jiangyu watched his men fall one by one. It was impossible for him not to feel pressured. Although they were his subordinates and assassins, he also regarded them as brothers. "Young master, our lives belong to you. We will go through fire and water for you without hesitation." Some of these guards were brought back from servant farms, and some were little beggars who were abandoned since childhood, had no parents, and made a living by begging. At that time, they were less than 10 years old. Jiangyu gave them hope and the treatment a normal person should have, being respected, recognized, having enough food to eat, wearing warm clothes, and being protected from wind and sun. He also found people to teach them skills, and he had never treated them harshly for many years. Therefore, their feelings for Jiangyu are supreme. If it weren't for Jiangyu, They might have died in the servant farm, or frozen to death in the winter of some year, and there would be no future at all. Those people were already rushing over with knives in their hands, all targeting Jiang Yu. 5 guards protected him, ready for a life-and-death fight. At the critical moment, countless sharp arrows suddenly shot out from the woods behind them, many of which directly penetrated the bodies of the killers and killed them instantly. Arrived, and the situation of the battle turned around in an instant. The dozens of archers brought by Feng Ying were all specialized in archery, and they had all practiced it to perfection. Unless there is an accident, every arrow shot out can basically kill someone instantly. In just a moment, more than half of the 20 killers were killed, and the remaining half were injured. Feng Ying appeared from the darkness with several combat experts and killed them with a few jumps using tree trunks as support points. Feng Ying's martial arts skills should not be underestimated. He dealt with the remaining killers who were injured and in poor condition with just a few moves. Jiang Yu and the others did not take action, but they all relaxed. Fortunately, Feng Ying came to support them in time. If it's a little later, there might be no recovery. Dealing with these killers, guards equipped with bows and arrows appeared on horseback from all directions. Feng Ying immediately knelt on one knee in front of Jiang Yu and clasped his fists. "Master, please forgive me. I am late. I encountered several interceptions on the way, and it took me a while." Things were not all smooth sailing for Feng Ying, as Yu Wushang sent people to intercept them. Although the intensity of the assassination was not as strong as Jiang Yu's, the purpose was to delay time. Fortunately, they arrived in time, and Jiang Yu was not in danger of life. "Get up. Leave some people to keep watch. The rest of you should quickly organize and see if any of our people are still alive. We must save them if we can. As long as they are still breathing, we must find a way to save them, no matter what the cost. For those who are injured and can still move, bandage each other and apply medicine. Leave Yufeng Mountain and rush to Mo before dawn." After Jiang Yu finished his confession, he couldn't help but cover his chest and coughed up blood. There were too many people besieging him just now, and he was accidentally hit by 2 palms and suffered internal injuries. "Young master," Feng Ying rushed forward to support him, took out a bottle of medicine from his arms and poured out a few pills for him to take. "This is a medicine for regulating internal breath, given to me by Dr. Sunday. After taking it, the stuffiness in my chest instantly dissipated a lot. Go get something to bandage me." Jiang Yu had several sword wounds on his body that needed to be treated, but this was not the most important thing. It would only hurt for a few days at most. However, the internal injuries were more difficult to deal with and would require a long period of recuperation. Now, the danger is almost over. What he needs to worry about is his grandfather. He has to hurry to meet up with Su Wan and then quickly return to Fengyue Villa. Once you enter Mo He's territory, you will be within the coverage area of Fengyue Villa. All of them are my grandfather's confidants. Yu Wushang cannot infiltrate them, so he will be able to reach Fengyue Villa safely. Feng Ying arranged many people to search for survivors at the scene. There were more than a dozen guards who were still breathing hard, but they were seriously injured and could not move for the time being. He brought several doctors and a lot of medicine, and he would just leave some people here to take care of them when the time comes. There is a village at the foot of Yufeng Mountain. They have a small courtyard there. They can take the wounded down there to recuperate when the time comes. After Jiang Yu was bandaged, Feng Ying and his men escorted him away in a carriage. He had internal injuries and was not suitable for riding a horse. It was almost dawn at this time. Jiang Yu's face was a little pale, and his lips were also white. He closed his eyes and took a nap along the way. It was snowing heavily outside, and the road was already covered with white. Su Wan set out again as soon as the sun rose, wrapping herself tightly in a cloak. I didn't expect it to snow so heavily. It didn't stop even after a whole night. There was already snow piled up under my feet. It was even colder than yesterday. Su Wan's face was red from the cold, and he wrapped himself tightly in a cloak. Getting on the horse again, she chose to sit behind Lu Yin this time, so as to avoid having to endure the whistling north wind when the horse started running. From here to Mo River, and it will take at most an hour to get there. They were halfway there. A Saker falcon suddenly flew in from the sky, circled over Su-won and his group 3 times, and then let out 3 loud cries in succession, piercing the sky. The guards stopped their horses and looked up at the sky. After hearing the 3rd cry, they all breathed a sigh of relief. Lu Yun smiled. Su-won didn't understand why, and poked her back blankly. The guard next to her just happened to speak up to clear up her confusion. This is the Saker falcon that the young master trained himself. It is used to convey messages. If it barks twice, it means it is in danger. If it barks 3 times, it means it is safe. The young master should be out of danger now. Miss Six can rest assured. Upon hearing the news, Su-won laughed excitedly out loud. He won, didn't he? That's great. He deserves it. She knew that Jiangyu was also a man of luck and nothing would happen to him. Then let us go quickly.
I'm Peasant.
Su-won felt relieved and could speak freely. The group set off again and finally arrived at the banks of the Mo River half an hour later. There is no such thing as a river here. All waterways are collectively called rivers. Of course, the sea is the sea. Looking at the Mo River at a glance, the riverbed on both sides is wide, and there are densely packed ships parked on it, both large and small, and the docks are busy loading and unloading goods. A guard went to the dock, found the person in charge, and whispered a few words to him, then took out a badge and showed it to him. The man immediately became respectful and cautious, and then ran to the most luxurious ship to report the news. Soon, a man in his 30s appeared, accompanied by many servants and several maids. The maids were holding white and pink fox fur cloaks in their hands and were walking toward Su-won. Su-won was so cold that she kept rubbing her hands and breathing out. Her black cloak was too thin and not cold-resistant at all. "Miss, you have suffered a lot. Come with me to the boat to keep warm." The man winked at the maid, who immediately came over with a fox fur cloak, took off her black cloak, and put on the warm fox fur. This fox fur should have been dried over charcoal fire. Once you put it on, you will be surrounded by warmth and feel comfortable. "Miss, my last name is Wang Sheng, and I am the manager of the Mo Wharf. You can tell me anything you want to do." "Thank you, sorry for the trouble." Su-won was still a little reserved and followed him into the boat. The ship is large and luxurious, with 2 floors. The first floor is the lobby, which is decorated magnificently. As soon as you enter, you can feel the charcoal fire burning brightly. She took off her fox fur coat, and the maid took her to a room that had been prepared in advance. "Miss, please rest inside for a while and drink the ginseng soup to drive away the cold. I will prepare hot water for you to bathe." The maid was very respectful, considerate, and thoughtful. She started working as soon as she arrived on the boat. Some people prepared hot water, some people prepared clothes, some people served soup, and there were also lots of fruits and snacks. She drank a bowl of ginseng soup, and then the maids came to help her take a bath. However, she was not used to so many people, so she simply sent them all away and bathed quietly by herself. I rode a fast horse all night and didn't get much sleep. The skin on my thighs was rubbed, and it felt numb and painful when it touched the hot water. Now I am soaking in the hot water, and the fatigue is gone, and I feel comfortable and numb. However, she felt dizzy after soaking in the hot water for too long, so she came out when the time was almost up. Another meal was prepared outside. She learned that Jiangyu was safe. She washed up comfortably, and her appetite was whetted. The meat porridge was thick and delicious, and it was also good for the stomach. She ate 2 big bowls in one go. The guard said that Jiangyu would probably arrive in the afternoon or evening, so she could take this opportunity to have a good rest. Jiangyu set out at dawn, and the carriage was moving at a relatively slow speed, so it would be better for him to ride a horse directly. By the time he arrived at Mo Wharf, it would probably be evening already. Not long after she woke up, Jiangyu arrived. "Girl, Master Jiang is here." Lu Ying came in happily to report the news. When Su-won heard this, he ran out in thin clothes without even putting on the fox fur. Jiangyu just happened to be walking onto the deck, and he couldn't wait to see her. Just as he was thinking about it, a green figure appeared, jogging towards him.
Hyunju, Su-won shouted.
Now she just wanted to run up and hug him. Jiang Yu knew that she would hit his wound when she ran over, but he accepted it because he just wanted to hug her at that moment. He opened his arms towards her, and she hugged his waist directly. Because he was jogging all the way, Jiang Yu couldn't help but groan when he was hit. Although it hurts, he still has a happy smile on his face. This is the power of love brain. When Suwon heard him groan, she immediately wanted to step out to check, but he grabbed her neck and pressed her into his arms. It's okay, let me hug you first. Even though he had changed his clothes, I could still smell a faint scent of blood on him. I couldn't tell if it was his or someone else's. Everyone around was watching the show, whether it was the guards or the maids. They all had an expression of being shocked. God is my witness, their young master has finally fallen in love. In the future, there will be an heir to Fongyue Villa. God bless you. Let me see your injuries. Suwon knew that he was injured, so she could only let him hold her and didn't dare to move. Why are you coming out wearing such thin clothes? The winter in Zhengzhou is even worse than that in Kyoto. We need a cloak at all times. Let's go in. He didn't mention a word about his injury, but just held Suwon's hand and walked towards the boat. Fengming asked Wang Sheng to find a doctor to rebandage Jiang Yu and change the dressings. After he arrived, the ship sailed away from the shore and headed towards Fongyue Villa. Jiang Yu was treating his wounds in the room, revealing his muscular upper body. The perfect head-to-body ratio was simply amazing. Suwon came in carrying a bowl of black Chinese medicine and saw the scene. The charcoal fire was burning very brightly in the room. Due to limited conditions, it was only simply bandaged last night. There were 2 new wounds on the chest and back, and there was also a long knife wound on the left arm. The skin and flesh were rolled up, and because of the collision just now, it was bleeding again. In ancient times, wounds also needed to be sutured, but the equipment was not as good as the technology of later generations, so it relied purely on technology. The 2 doctors worked together to suture his wound. Jiang Yu closed his eyes, frowned in pain, but didn't make a sound. A thin layer of sweat seeped out of his forehead, and his face was pale. His upper body was naked, and in addition to the new wound, there were many old scars crisscrossing his body, most of which were left when she and her second brother rescued him last year. It was very heartbreaking to look at. Suwon remembered that she had only seen him with his body wrapped in bandages. Seeing it so directly made her feel uncomfortable. When the stitches were being sutured, blood kept oozing out. Suwon didn't dare to look directly at it. It felt like he was pricking his own flesh. Jiang Yu seemed to sense her coming and opened his eyes to look at her. A few strands of messy hair on his forehead mixed with sweat and stained his face, making him look lustful and broken, especially the red spot at the corner of his eyes, which made him look like a male demon whose blood had been sucked out. I'll bring you the medicine. Suwon didn't dare to look, and lowered her head and placed the medicine on the small coffee table next to him. He half leaned on the couch, and seeing her timid look, he couldn't help but have some green tea thoughts. Suwon put down the medicine bowl and turned around to leave, simply not wanting to see any of this. As a result, someone grabbed his wrist, and when the doctor was sewing another stitch, he let out an appropriate hissing sound. It hurts, my goodness. He didn't feel any pain when Suwon didn't come, but he felt pain as soon as she came. Suwon still didn't dare to look at the bloody scene, and tilted his head slightly and said, "Just bear with it for a while. Then don't leave, stay with me, okay?" Jiang Yu's tone sounded like he was acting coquettishly. The people around saw what was going on but didn't say anything. They were all laughing. The doctor also wanted to laugh, but he didn't dare to. He pursed his lips tightly, but couldn't suppress the twitching corners of his mouth. I didn't realize that the young master could be so charming. Suwon nodded and let him hold her. With her free hand, she picked up a clean handkerchief on the table and wiped his sweat, trying her best to ignore the bloody wound on his chest. So, this injury can also be part of your play, right? It will be their young master who will do it. In fact, now, no matter how worried I am about my grandfather, there is nothing I can do. The speed on the waterway is only so fast, and I can only wait quietly to reach my destination. Fengming watched their young master's worthless appearance the whole time, holding Miss Su Lu's hand and refusing to let go. The wound was finally sewed up. All the pain of their young master's life would be caused by these sword wounds. Afterwards, the doctors cleaned the blood off his body, sprinkled medicine powder on him, and bandaged him. If it weren't for the need to get dressed, the couple would have been reluctant to let go of each other's holding hands. Jiangyu put on his white undergarments, Fengming put a cloak on him, and then left the room with the doctor. After he finished, he took the initiative to drink the bowl of warm medicine on the table in one gulp. Only then did Suwon find a place to sit down next to him. He was on the chaise longue, not on the bed, so it was okay to sit together. How long will it take us to get to Fengyue Villa? Seeing that the atmosphere was a bit silent, Suwon took the initiative to find a topic and asked, I estimate that we will be there early tomorrow morning. Fengyue Villa is on the mountain and also on the water. We will need to hike up the mountain after we arrive. Jiang Yu estimated. He has walked this water route many times. Being on the water and on the mountain, it sounds pretty high-end. Suwon felt the fatigue in his eyes and eyebrows and knew that he was seriously injured in a fierce battle last night and needed a good rest now. She got up, went to the bed, brought a pillow and a quilt, and used them to cushion his back. You should have a good rest and a good sleep. No matter how much you worry about your grandfather's affairs, you can't fly over immediately. You should get some rest first. You still have to face your cheap uncle later. When it comes to this darn cheap uncle, Suwon becomes unhappy and has a stern face, wishing he could complain about him 100 times. Okay, I'll listen to you. Jiang Yu lay down obediently. Suwon saw him making a hissing sound when he moved, so she hurried forward to help him. It's really strange. I didn't hear him hum a few lines when he was picked up after being injured like that. He could only lie on his side because of injuries on his back and hands. Suwon helped him cover the quilt and then stayed with him quietly. With her around, Jiang Yu felt peaceful at this moment. He closed his eyes and tried to fall asleep. The room was warm. Suwon felt bored, so she went to find a book to read. The boat was moving on the water, swaying slightly. The wind was howling outside, and the heavy snow was still falling. The charcoal fire in the room occasionally emitted some burning sparks, which accompanied the sound of her turning the pages of the book, one page at a time, softly and rhythmically. Such a peaceful and tranquil journey. Jiang Yu might be rushing to see his grandfather for the last time. When Suwon looked up at him again, his breathing had become long, and he had fallen asleep. The two arrived at Fengyue Villa on the morning of the next day. Suwon stood on the deck and saw that the snow had stopped, but the water was covered with fog, and he could not see clearly what was happening in the distance. He could only vaguely see that a mountain was gradually getting bigger in front of him. Only when you reach the foot of the mountain will you discover how high and how big the mountain is. It is endless. It is said that after reaching the shore, you need to hike to the top of the mountain. Fengyue Villa is located on the top of the mountain. No wonder Jiang Yu said that the place on the mountain and also on the water is easy to defend and difficult to attack. If someone wants to attack, they must be good at fighting on the water. The side on the high ground always has the advantage, while the side below is very inactive. Therefore, Yu Shang was not afraid at all that Duke Jiang would come to seek revenge, which was why he wanted to harm Jiang Yu unscrupulously. Jiang Yu's injuries meant he couldn't get out of bed and walk, but he forced himself to get off the boat. Already people sent by Jiang Yunho waiting at the foot of the mountain, and several disciples from Fengyue Villa were carrying a sedan chair. He also guessed that it was not easy for Jiang Yu to come back all the way, so he was prepared for him to get injured, and his guess turned out to be correct. The sedan was an open-air one. Jiang Yu sat on it, wearing a cloak. His face was still pale, and he coughed from time to time, and his wounds and internal organs were painful. Even when he coughed hard, a fishy sweet taste would come out of his throat, but he managed to hold it back because Suwon was right beside him, and he was afraid that she would worry. When it comes to mountain climbing, that is really Suwon's worst problem. Whether in modern times or now with a different body, she hates mountain climbing, but sometimes she has to do it out of necessity. Moreover, the mountain under my feet seemed unusually high. The stone steps were stacked up layer by layer, surrounding the mountain, and I didn't know when they would end. The snow should have been cleared early in the morning and piled up on both sides. Just as she expected, it took her a full hour to reach the top. She was out of breath, but never said a word of being tired. After all, this body has been used to a life of luxury, and her legs felt weak when she went up. When she was in Yangguo, the mountains there were not as high as here, and she only climbed halfway up the mountain each time. It was so cold, but she was sweating profusely. After reaching the top, Suwon could only describe the scene that appeared before his eyes as spectacular. So spectacular. It feels like you have arrived at the south gate of heaven. There is a suspension bridge above, connecting several mountains. On each mountaintop, there are pavilions and buildings with gorgeous and beautiful architecture, surrounded by mist, like a fairyland. A large arch built of stone pillars with the words, Fonghua Villa, carved on it. This is where Jiangyu grew up. She arrived here, she seemed to forget her fatigue. The high-altitude air kept pouring into her nostrils, so cold and irritating that her nose felt sore. When the cold wind blew, the sweat on her back instantly cooled down, and she got goosebumps all over. She couldn't help but tighten her fox fur coat. Jiangyu jumped off the sedan chair and found her naive look funny. To get to the other top of the mountain, you have to cross the suspension bridge, but Suwon is afraid of heights. Although the suspension bridge looks quite solid, the wooden boards are very thick, there are no gaps between the joints, the bottom is cast with molten iron, and the fences on both sides are also designed to fit tightly. It is completely a psychological effect. After everyone got on the bridge, the suspension bridge began to sway slightly. She was not being pretentious. Her legs became even weaker after she stood on it. Jiangyu could see that she was afraid because her face had turned pale, so he took the initiative to hold her hand. His hands were a little cold, but somehow they made people feel safe. Be good, close your eyes and follow me. You won't be afraid. He was always so gentle in front of her. Suwon nodded and closed her eyes obediently. Perhaps it was really because she couldn't see, and with him holding her hand, she knew that nothing would happen if she followed him, so Suwon wasn't that scared. Feeling the bridge swaying gently below, Suwon said that it was impossible for him to not be afraid at all, so this section of the road seemed particularly long. Jiang Yunhe brought people to the other side of the bridge to meet them, and there was another middle-aged man with them. Jiang Yunhe was very relieved to see Jiangyu arrived safely. He was smiling. He was even more relieved to see him coming with the little girl from the Su family. This kid finally did some things he should do. But in comparison, the other one is not like that. He arranged so many ambushes and still let this guy survive. I don't know how he is so lucky. He was able to survive the situation last year. Isn't that lucky? Jiang Yu's eyes met Yu Wushang's from a distance. Yu Wushang looked at him without hesitation with a smile on his face, while Jiang Yu's face was frosty and his eyes were murderous. Yu Wushang were left alive. Even if there were a few who were still breathing, they ended their lives on their own, either by biting their tongues or destroying their own dantian, leaving no evidence at all. Suwon opened his eyes and was the first to recognize Jiang Yunhe. "Uncle Jiang?" She greeted with a smile. "Little girl, long time no see." Jiang Yunhe smiled like a kind father. Suwon subconsciously looked at the other man next to him, who was wearing a white robe, like a custom-made robe specially made for a sect, except that his robe looked more luxurious. The man had a beard that was neither long nor short, wheat-colored skin, and deep brows. His eyes seemed to be endless, like a pool of spring water that had not been taken care of for many years. This should be Jiang Yu's cheap uncle. You can tell from his temperament that some villains have the word bad written all over their faces. This is my future nephew's wife, right? Yu Wushang faced Suwon's gaze and greeted her as if nothing had happened. Suwon resisted the urge to roll his eyes, and he remained calm and collected. Jiang Yu subconsciously protected Suwon behind him, blocking Yu Wushang's sight. This act of protecting his child made Yu Wushang raise his eyebrows and curl the corners of his mouth with contempt. "Uncle He, take me to see my grandfather." Although Jiang Yu was speaking to Jiang Yunhe, his eyes were fully focused on warning Yu Wushang, meaning, "Do you dare to try to take advantage of her? Come with me." Jiang Yunhe thought that his master was about to collapse, so how could he dare to delay any longer? Jiang Yu held Suwon's hand and never let go all the way to Jiang Zhen's villa. The sect master's courtyard was named Fonghua Pavilion. As soon as you entered the courtyard, you could smell a strong smell of medicine. Yu Wushang also followed behind, but there was no trace of sadness on his face. People were coming in and out of the room, very busy. The master had been relying on drugs to stay alive these days, and Dr. Sun never left his side. Jiang Yunhe sent people to protect Fengyue Pavilion. Except for a few core members who were allowed to get close, Yu Wushang was not allowed to enter and disturb them. The elders in the sect were also not allowed to come in and disturb them. Everything had to wait for orders. All of this was to prevent the old sect master from being hurt again. Jiang Yu was in a hurry and went up the stairs in 2 steps at a time. When the disciple guarding the door saw him coming, he quickly opened the door and respectfully called, "Young master." Suwon followed him. After the door was opened, an even stronger smell of medicine wafted into the air. The strong smell of medicine was mixed with the scent of cold sandalwood, which smelled strange. Jiang Yunhe followed him in, and Yu Wushang also wanted to follow in, but was stopped. "Elder Yu, the sect master has not summoned you in. Please wait outside the door until you are called." During the time when the old sect master was seriously ill, he would only be allowed in for a while when he was conscious. Moreover, everyone in Fengyue Pavilion was their own people, so no one knew what was going on inside, nor did they know what the old sect master was like. Anyway, every time Yu Wushang went in, the old sect master was sober and able to talk to him. Sometimes he even suspected that something had gone wrong, but he firmly believed that nothing had gone wrong. If he was not allowed to enter, Yu Wushang could only wait outside the door. After Jiang Yu entered, he let go of Suwon's hand, ran to the old master's bed, knelt down, and then held his withered hand and shouted, "Grandfather, it's me. Yu is back." It can be seen that Jiang Yu and his grandfather have a very good relationship, but the old master has his eyes closed and is still asleep. As soon as Suwon came in, she found that Dr. Sun was there, as was Sun Linger and her second brother Sumu. Sumu was also surprised to see her. He frowned and looked at her, as if he didn't understand why she was here. However, he did not ask right away. Instead, he nodded to Sun Linger as a greeting, then walked up to Suwon, gently pulled her arm, and took her to a corner to ask anxiously, "Wanwan, why did you follow young Master Jiang here?" Suwon looked at her second brother, then turned around and looked at Jiang Yu's back as he knelt on the ground. She did not choose to hide it. Jiang Yu said that the old master was dying, and his only wish before he died was to see his future grandson's wife, so I followed him along to fulfill his wish. She whispered. Sumu looked innocent and harmless, but his brows furrowed even more when he heard her say that. "Could it be that you and Jiang Yu are together?" he asked tentatively with a little doubt. "We love each other." Suwon was very frank. They really loved each other. Sumu didn't respond for a moment, but just stared into her eyes, trying to find something different in them, but Suwon also looked at him calmly, with no ripples in her eyes, even firmness. She saw that the bottom of her second brother's eyes were dark and blue, and his eyes were full of red bloodshot with fatigue. It seemed that he had not rested for a long time. She was afraid that he had been assisting Dr. Sun and staying with the old master for a long time without closing his eyes. To be honest, she felt very distressed. This must be the connection between blood. Sumu looked at his sister's determined eyes and finally sighed. "Never mind. Isn't it normal for a girl to have some feelings? She will be of age next year and no longer a little girl. It's a pity that as her second brother, it seems that he is too late to do anything for her because she has grown up. Suwon has worked hard for the Su family. She is his biological sister. How can he not be worried? You're not hurt on this journey, are you?" Although Sumu didn't care about their personal grudges, he had always been by the teacher's side, and he had heard some things and guessed a lot. He knew Jiang Yu's identity and some of the things he had experienced, so he understood that it must not have been easy for Jiang Yu to come back. Suwon shook his head and gently tugged at his sleeve. "Brother, I'm fine. Jiang Yu took good care of me, but he was seriously injured." Suwon called him brother in a soft and sweet voice, and even Sumu, who was as cold as an iceberg, couldn't help but melt into a puddle of water inside. He raised his hand and scratched her nose. "You are not someone I can rest assured about. Did you know that when you came to Zhongzhou's house? Su-won nodded and replied, I've been to the letter, they know. That's good. Su-mu was afraid that his family didn't know, and were overly worried. Jiangyu called out to his grandfather several times, but there was no response, so he could only look at Dr. Sunday. Sun Beidou asked him to get up first, then open the small bag where he kept the silver needles and took out a bottle of medicine. The old master is in a trance, so I'm going to try to get him to sleep peacefully. I'll use silver needles to prick his acupuncture points, and combined with this medicine, he'll wake up soon and be able to stay awake for 2 cups of tea. Jiangyu stood up and made way for him, his face full of worry. Su-mu and Su-won had already returned to the bedside. Su-won pulled Jiangyu's sleeve from behind. Jiangyu turned around to look at her. She gave him a comforting smile. His hand under his sleeve silently held her hand tightly. Sun Beidou gave the old master a few needles on the head and a few needles on the acupuncture points on his hands. Finally, he opened the medicine bottle and put it under the old master's nose for him to smell it. After a while, the old master began to wake up slowly. Sun Beidou removed the silver needle and gave his position to Jiangyu. Jiangyu knelt down again. Grandfather, it's me. Yu is back. Old sect leader opened his eyes. He looked very weak and haggard, unlike any image Su-won had imagined. He looked fragile, thin, and without any sign of life. His beard was gray, his hair was gray, and his skinny arms were covered with spots. When Su-won saw the old sect leader like this, he felt nothing but heartache. Who could have imagined that when he was young, he was Jiang Zhen, a powerful figure who founded Fengyue Villa on his own, and whose influence spread throughout the entire Jin state. Ayu is back, the old sect leader spoke, looking weak. Yes, Grandpa, how are you feeling now? Jiangyu's eyes turned red, and his eye sockets became moist. I'm afraid I can't hold on any longer.
Since you're back, then.
I'll trouble Dr. Sun to help me keep my energy up. Yunhe, go gather all the elders of Fengyue Villa to the Wuji Hall. I want to personally announce that Jiangyu is the next master of Fengyue Villa. Old sect leader even had difficulty speaking. He forced himself to muster up his spirit and strength to utter these words with difficulty. Jiangyu's tears fell silently in an instant. He held his grandfather's hand tightly. In his impression, his grandfather had always been a powerful figure. As long as he was there was nothing that could not be solved. He taught him how to make a living and how to behave in society. He taught him earnestly, seriously, but lovingly. Now, seeing him decline to such an extent, he realized that even heroes will grow old. It was just that his grandfather had to suffer like this, while he should have died of old age and left without any pain. Child, don't cry. I hope you can always be strong. I'm afraid that Grandpa can only accompany you here. Jiang Zhen stretched out his other hand with difficulty, wanting to touch his head like he did when he was a child. Jiangyu understood, and he consciously moved closer to make it easier for his grandfather to touch him. Such a scene made everyone present silent and felt sad. Su-won was no exception. If it were her, it would be difficult to bear the pain of separation from her loved ones. My grandfather didn't hold on for long. His hand dropped weakly, and he breathed slightly. Jiangyu hurriedly covered him with the quilt. He saw his grandfather's eyes moving around the room, and his gaze stopped on Su-won's face.
Who is she?
Old sect leader saw Su-won. He saw a strange face, so he was very confused and asked. Jiangyu then remembered to introduce Su-won to his grandfather. He pulled Su-won closer to the bed so that his grandfather could see her clearly. Su-won was also very honest. He knelt down straight at once. Oh, you are such an honest girl. Dr. Sun heard the sound of the bolt knocking down clearly and couldn't help but sigh.
Su-won smiled embarrassedly.
Grandfather, this is Su-won. She is from Xiangzhou and is the girl I like. I brought her back especially for you to see. Jiangyu spoke frankly and told Su-mu directly in front of him that Su-won was the person she liked. Su-mu frowned, but seeing the old master's current state, he finally chose to say nothing.
Then, Su-won.
Su-won took the initiative to introduce herself, and she knelt obediently beside Jiangyu. When he heard that his grandson brought the girl he liked, the old sect master immediately laughed, with an undisguised smile on his face.
Okay.
Okay, girl, how old are you this year? The old sect master looked at Suwon with an increasingly kind look. Grandpa, I'm 15 years old.
Suwon answered obediently.
When he called Grandpa, his voice was soft and sweet, which made the elders especially like him. Look, the wrinkles at the corners of the old master's eyes are filled with smiles, which show the happiness from the bottom of his heart. Well, 15 is considered the age of marriage, girl. Jeongyu doesn't talk much and has a rather cold personality, but he is a good boy. Don't worry, if you marry him in the future, he won't let you suffer any grievances. Old sect master saw his grandson's wife. He seemed to be in better spirits. He must be so happy that he spoke without even taking a breath. Upon hearing this, Suwon looked at Jeongyu, and Jeongyu looked at her with gentleness and doting eyes. Old sect master was even happier when he saw it. The two children looked so affectionate, and it didn't seem like they were lying to him. He knew his grandchildren well, and if he wasn't really moved, he wouldn't show such a look in their eyes. He is a person who will never compromise. If he doesn't like someone, he won't even be willing to get close to them. Girl, you've seen my grandfather's health condition. I'm afraid he won't be able to see you two get married, so please don't despise me if I give you a small gift. Old sect leader has already called himself grandfather to Suwon. He can tell from her appearance and her clear eyes that this girl is not a person with bad character. He took off a string of red sandalwood Buddhist beads from his hand. The color of this Buddhist bead bracelet was the color of raw pork liver. Each bead was polished to be round and smooth and exuded a luster. Unlike the rosewood necklace that Sun Linger gave her, the rosewood beads on that necklace were smaller and not round and smooth enough. The necklace given by the old sect master was also made of rosewood, and each bead was large and round, at least 20 millimeters in size. This was left by Jeongyu's grandmother. I have been carrying it with me all these years. She said that it would be left for her grandson's wife. Now that I give it to you, I have completed her mission. Suwon looked at Jeongyu, then at her second brother. She didn't know whether she should accept it or not. She had to wait for her second brother to nod before she dared to accept it. Su-mu felt that it was nothing. The most important thing was to satisfy the old man's wish. He then nodded at her. Jeongyu also signaled her to take it. Suwon then opened her hands, lowered her head slightly, and reverently took the rosewood bracelet given by the old master. Thank you, grandfather. Well, good girl, the old master nodded with satisfaction. Then he looked at Jeong Yunha again. Yunha, the list I gave you before was the list of betrothal gifts for Jeongyu. In the future, you will be his elder, and when the time comes, you will take the betrothal gifts on the list and go to propose marriage to the girl from the Su family on his behalf. He had already prepared everything and had been preparing for it a long time ago because he knew that his body could not hold on for much longer. When Jeong Yunha heard this, he thought of the thick list. It seemed that the old man had prepared a lot of betrothal gifts. Master, don't worry. I treat Jeongyu as my own son. I will personally take care of his affairs. Jeong Yunha made the promise. In fact, Jeongyu's marriage should have been handled by the Jeongwagong mansion, but because of some misunderstandings before, Jeongwagong had never been recognized by his father-in-law. In other words, the two sides had no contact with each other. If Suwon married Jeongyu in the future, she would receive two very generous betrothal gifts. Hurry up, kid. The ground is cold. You are a girl, no different from a boy. Don't catch a cold. The Jeong family has nothing else to do with other things, except that they are very respectful to women. Whether it is the old sect leader or other people in the Jeong family, or even Fonghua Villa, they all have male servants instead of female servants to serve them. In the entire Fonghua Villa, there was no other woman to be seen except Sun Linger and Suwon.
Sumuk helped Suvan up.
Jeongyu was still kneeling. Suwon was actually a little embarrassed. It was also the first time for her to meet Jeongyu's parents. Fortunately, the old sect leader seemed quite satisfied with her and gave her such an expensive gift. In fact, as long as Jeongyu likes her, the old sect master will accept her. Moreover, his first impression of Suwon is indeed good. Some people pay great attention to rapport, and the old sect master is one of them. Later, Jiang Yu had to continue to serve the old master, and it was inconvenient for Su Wan to stay, so Sun Linger prepared to take her to the Jiaxing Pavilion, where Jiang Yu lived before. Su Mu also accompanied her, and so did Lu Yun and Lu Ying. Jiaxing Pavilion was Jiang Yu's territory alone. Once she entered Jiaxing Pavilion, Su Wan had the final say. She was now the granddaughter-in-law recognized by the sect leader. He came out. Yu Wushang was still waiting at the door. He saw the rosewood bracelet on Su Wan's hand at a glance, and smiled mysteriously, which was then gone in a flash. Su Mu happened to see his smile, and felt a little confused. He kept thinking about this while walking on the way to Jiaxing Pavilion. Old Master's illness was so strange that it was suspected to be poisoning, but no signs or evidence could be found to confirm that it was poisoning. It was really puzzling. Judging from the situation in Fengyue Villa these days, Elder Yunhe is the person the old sect master trusts the most, but he is intentionally or unintentionally guarding against Elder Yu, which means that there is something wrong with Elder Yu. He is afraid of now is that the struggle between these sects will affect Su Wan. Arriving at Jiaxing Pavilion, Lu Yun and the others began to clean the room. The servants of Jiaxing Pavilion brought charcoal fire to keep them warm. Sun Linger was ready to accompany her so that she would not feel bored alone. Not long after sitting down, Su Mu suddenly spoke. Wan, let me see your rosewood bracelet. Su Wan looked at the large rosewood bracelet on her wrist, then looked at her second brother in confusion, and then she took it off swiftly. However, she picked it up and smelled it first. The scent was still that pure sandalwood scent, but in an instant, Su Wan felt dizzy. Because she took a big sip, the smell was particularly strong and she couldn't help but fall backwards. Fortunately, Sun Linger supported her. What's wrong with you? Her tone was anxious, and Su Mu was also anxious. He quickly reached out to help her, but because there was someone opposite him, he was unable to help her in time. What's going on? Sun Linger quickly poured her a glass of water, then found a bottle of medicine from her body and poured out 2 pills for her to take. Just take this medicine, it's good for your body, and you'll feel better after taking it. Indeed, after just a few moments, Su Wan began to feel a little nauseous. She handed the bracelet to her second brother. Brother, I think there's something wrong with this bracelet. Su Mu took the bracelet and put it under his nose to smell it. Sun Linger wanted to stop him, but it was too late. However, it was very strange that Su Mu did not feel any discomfort after smelling it. Why am I okay? Let me smell it. Sun Linger stretched out her hand and asked him for the bracelet. Su Mu hesitated for a moment, but still gave it to her. Sun Linger also smelled it and found that she was fine. This is really strange. Why did Wan react so strongly after smelling it, but we were fine? Sun Linger began to realize that this matter was not simple. Su Mu shook his head, unable to explain. He had just smelled it and found that there was no special ingredient on the bracelet. Even with his sensitive nose, he couldn't smell it. This rosewood bracelet was indeed left by the old sect master's wife. As far as I can remember, he always wore it with him. He treasured it very much in front of others and behind their backs.
Sun Linger explained.
That was indeed her impression. This thing was the old sect master's favorite. Sandalwood is supposed to calm the mind and soothe the spirit. It's not like Wan can't smell it, because you gave her a sandalwood necklace before, and she wore it for a few days without feeling any discomfort. That means there is indeed something wrong with this bracelet. Maybe the poison was put in it. Since this is the sect master's favorite thing, the person who poisoned it wants to hide it from the old sect master's eyes and not be suspected. It can only be said that this person must be trusted by the sect master, or he has been serving the sect master's daily life for many years, so he has the opportunity to touch these objects that the old sect master often touches. In other words, there is a traitor around the sect master. As long as this person is found, there will be a breakthrough.
Su Mu analyzed calmly.
But the problem now is to confirm whether this bracelet is really poisonous. If you can't be sure whether it is poisonous or caused by other reasons, you can't judge it at all. Even if you find a suspect, you can't prove that he poisoned it. We must find strong evidence to prove it. Sun Linger's mind was still clear. If this was really poison, it must be a very powerful poison, colorless and odorless, a chronic poison that killed people invisibly. Generally, this kind of poison is difficult to detoxify, and even her grandfather couldn't judge it. It would be difficult to find a second person in the world who could detoxify it, unless the person who developed this poison was found. He might have the antidote, and this would be the only chance of survival. Soo-won listened to them for a long time, feeling somewhat confused, and could not help but speak out. Is it possible that this poison needs an initiator? Because this is my first time at Fonghua Villa, and I haven't stayed with the old master for a long time, so my reaction to this poison is more obvious. But you have all stayed in Fonghua Villa for a long time and have been with the old master. You must be used to the initiator here, so you didn't react much after smelling it, let alone the old master? The poisoner must have known that this bracelet is the best entry point, so he poisoned it there. Besides, you also said that this is the old master's favorite thing, and he wears it every day and no one else can touch it, so there is no impact. Who can doubt this? Soo-won's words awakened the dreamer. Sun Linger and Sumu looked at each other and had the same idea. Why don't we test it? The two said almost in unison. What are you going to do? Sun Linger wanted to know if his idea was the same as hers. Find some disciples from the sect to come over. First try with the people from Jiaxing Pavilion to see how they react. Then go to Fonghua Pavilion to find a few people to try. And this must be done quietly. Don't alert the enemy. Sure enough, just as Sun Linger thought after trying it once, she could tell whether it was only the people in the entire Fonghua Villa who had no reaction, or just the people in Fonghua Pavilion who had no reaction. If only the people inside Fonghua Pavilion did not react to this, it means that only Fonghua Pavilion had this so-called trigger, and there was no reaction in other places. It would be easy to distinguish then. If there is no reaction, there is a problem. If there is a reaction, there is no problem, which means they have not been exposed to the source of the poison. Yes, that's what I want to do too. Sun Linger agreed. Soo-won was standing aside, looking at Sun Linger and then at Sumu. He just felt that they were a perfect match. At this time, Luying and Luyun brought 2 plates of food over, filling the small table in an instant. They were all light meals. Soo-won just happened to feel uncomfortable in her stomach after smelling the bracelet, so she could only eat something light. Soo-won had been climbing the mountain for the whole morning and had not eaten anything yet, so he had to eat something to fill his stomach. Luyun brought her the porridge, along with some side dishes. When Soo-won was about to take it, Sumu stopped her. Wait, let me test it first. Sumu said, taking out the small bag he carried with him and taking out a silver needle specially used for testing poison. Soo-won and Luyun Luing looked at him blankly. Only Sun Linger was relatively calm. Afterwards, Sumu used a silver needle to test the food on the table one by one and confirmed repeatedly that it was not poisonous before letting her eat it with peace of mind. After finishing, he wiped the silver needle clean and handed it to Luying. From now on, all the food and tea your young lady eats and drinks, anything that enters the body, must be tested with a silver needle. The situation in Fonghua Villa is different now, so it is better to be careful. Sumu is also worried that Soo-won will get hurt, so he is so strict. It is understandable. Sun Linger also nodded in agreement and deliberately lowered her voice. That's right. You've seen the old sect master's health condition. There are many eyes on the position of the next sect master. Now the old sect master has already decided on Brother Yu as the next sect master. You are the girl he likes and brought back. He is afraid that someone will start with you, so it's better to be careful. Sun Linger deliberately emphasized the words, the girl I like, which made Soo-won feel embarrassed. At the same time as I felt embarrassed, I also felt a chill on my back, as if there were always villains trying to harm me. She is the most cautious person, so if she says so, she must be rigorous, and rigorous again. After confirming that the food was not poisonous, Soo-won started to eat it with peace of mind, but he didn't eat much. The first experimental subjects, the 3 of them focused their attention on Luyun and Luying and directly let them smell the rosewood bracelet.
Tosuvan.
She felt a little dizzy after smelling it, but the reaction was not as obvious as Soo-won's. They both had a basic knowledge of martial arts and internal strength to protect their bodies, so their ability to withstand it was stronger than Suwon. Afterwards, he found several servants in the Jiaxing Pavilion and asked them to smell the bracelet one by one. Almost all of them felt the same as Suwon, dizzy and nauseous after smelling it. Sun Linger gave them pills one by one and ordered them not to spread the matter. Otherwise, they would bear the consequences. In the Jiaxing Pavilion is Jiang Yu's confidant, so there shouldn't be any problems. But it also shows that there is something wrong with this bracelet. Even if some people don't like sandalwood, it doesn't mean that they can't smell it. It's either a problem with the person or a problem with the thing. Because of this important discovery, Su Mu and Sun Linger did not stay with Suwon for too long, but secretly returned to Fengyue Pavilion with the rosewood bracelet. Before saying this, they dismissed all the servants in the room, leaving only Jiang Yu, Jiang Yunhe, and Sun Beidu at the scene. Everyone was confused by Su Mu's sudden action, and the old sect leader had already gone back to sleep. Several people sat down at the table, and Su Mu took out the rosewood bracelet again and placed it on the table. Everyone was very puzzled when they saw the bracelet. Wasn't this the one the old sect master had just given to Suwon? "AMU, what do you mean?" asked Dr. Sunday. "Yeah, is there something wrong with this bracelet?" Jiang Yunhe also asked. Stared at the bracelet quietly without saying anything. "We just discovered that there is something wrong with this bracelet. Waman just smelled it and immediately felt dizzy and nauseous. But Linger and I didn't have this reaction after smelling it. On the contrary, we also asked someone in Jiaxing Pavilion to try it, and the reaction was similar to Wanwan's, feeling dizzy and nauseous. So we suspect that the poison in the old master